We're live.
About to head back to Northern Illinois.
All right.
As you should.
You ready to start the pod?
Yes. What is up, team, and welcome back to another episode of the Technical Foul Podcast. As always, or as normally, you're joined by the three of us. I'm Jack Anderson. To my left is Sanders Oakley, and then to my right is JP Pusilowski. I'll start with you, Sanders. How are you doing today?
I'm great. You know, I've heard the news this morning that we're going to get Jordan Seaton from one of
Sure.
our insiders. It was shared sarcastically, but we're just going to run with that. He said that sarcastically on a message board because somebody was giving him grief. And so he was like, fine, Jordan Seaton's coming to state. Is that what you want to hear? And everyone was like, all right, cool. We're happy now. Can't wait. So, you know, I'm still running on that high of just seeing that typed out. But no, I'm great. Very sore. Day 3 of gym, so I haven't
Good
missed.
stuff.
I almost missed, and then I was like, I don't want to go to the podcast and tell y'all that I didn't go. So
Holding you accountable. There
Yeah.
you go.
the plan is I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there. I'm gonna go tomorrow, and depending on weather, I don't know when bad weather's supposed to get here, but I'm gonna go tomorrow and then take Saturday, Sunday off. That's always been the plan.
It shifted a little north.
Yes.
So tomorrow it'll be really cold, but I don't there's no rain chances, at least when I
Okay.
looked this morning.
I
for
stocked up on
tomorrow.
bread and milk this morning. You know, the bare
yeah.
necessities, as everyone in Mississippi does when it gets cold. For those of us who eat bread and drink milk regularly, it's very tough because it's like, well, you're taking the thing that I would normally eat. You get your normal food. Like, don't take away my food.
As you were saying, I honestly feel like bad storm weather, and I think this comes from my childhood, where there are a couple times growing up in College Station, we never really got hurricanes because we were too far removed from the coast, but we would get once or twice we just got a week straight of just steady rain.
Yeah.
From a hurricane that was on the coast, and we treated them like fun times. Like we would make an indoor carnival, and my mom would get soft pretzels that we could make in the oven and stuff.
That's sick.
So getting stuck inside for bad weather to me is it's a time for me to go to the store and treat myself almost, if that makes sense. I maybe I wouldn't normally buy this and I wouldn't normally eat this, but I'm gonna be stuck inside. I might as well enjoy my food.
That's funny.
So I'm not gonna go. I will go grab I went yesterday and I got milk, right?
Yeah.
But I'm also gonna be
but y'all don't drink
what's
milk.
a fun treat? That's why we get a half gallon to use to make stuff, right?
I guess, yeah.
So it's a time for me to find some food I enjoy, treat myself.
Yeah. I was the same way growing up. I lived outside of Jackson when Hurricane Katrina came through, and Katrina was 2007. Is that right?
I don't remember.
So I was 5 at the time. Katrina comes through, knocks out our power for a week. And basically for that week, we lived on our screened-in back porch because it was outside. And after the hurricane came through, the weather was super. It was in the 70s. The front that came through following the hurricane was very pleasant weather. And 5-year-old me, and then a couple years later, I looked to my dad didn't go to work because everything, roads were covered in trees and power lines were down. And so a couple of years later, I said to Mom, I was like, Mama, when can we have our next hurricane? That was a fun vacation.
Yep.
And so she had to sit me down and be like, yeah, we don't ask for hurricanes because a lot of people lost a lot of things.
Yeah, for most people, that was not a fun time.
But 5-year-old me did not understand the magnitude of the hurricane. All I knew is my dad stayed home from work, and we just sat there, and my mom read books to us for a week, and we would go on walks. And I don't know, I 5-year-old me thought it was the best vacation ever.
It was glorious. It's a little staycation.
But yeah, I do get the bad weather leading to almost in fond memories, which is weird to think about.
Yeah, makes sense. JP, how are you doing? And ask a quick follow-up question of big intramural scrimmage tonight. To kick off the season, the final season for us.
Yeah.
What is your
The Last
stat line?
Dance.
Predict your stat line for tonight. In a big scrimmage. I'd like to reiterate this is a scrimmage to train the refs,
Well, I
so it matters a ton.
am missing an Arc Raiders session. And
Wow.
I told them that I was playing in a basketball scrimmage. And I've been asked to at least put up a double-double
Okay.
in order to, pay back for missing an Arc Raiders session. So 10 points, 10 assists.
The assist is going to be tough.
It is because that relies
It
on
is.
other people hitting their
I
shots.
was going to say you can make the perfect pass. I mean, you gave me a perfect pocket pass last time we played, pick up, and I smoked the little 5-foot push shot. So best of luck hitting 10 assists.
Yeah.
So you're predicting that double-double.
It's either I'm going to try to go for
10
rebounds.
steals might be.
Oh, no, not with me.
Yeah, but it's pickup or it's not pickup.
I get
but
like
it's in
3
it.
steals a season in angle ball,
You got to have a quick first step and like long arms help a
Yeah,
ton.
yeah. That's
and I
true.
only get those steals when like
We gotta play
I
angle
just
ball. We gotta play angle ball.
pick a dude off. We're playing on Saturday. I can't wait. But I guess I'm gonna go for rebounds in the first quarter.
Sure.
And see if we can get to 10.
You call me off if you need to. If I'm right there and it's
Can
just
Jack
the
I'm
two
a
of
just
us.
tip
I'm a
it to
Russell
you? Can
Westbrook
Jack
that
kind of like
stuff.
is that legal?
That
Like
counts as a rebound towards him.
really?
Mhm.
On a defensive rebound, the first touch is a rebound. On an offensive rebound, it's whoever gets
Possesses it.
possession.
Interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Huh.
But yeah, if it's just the two of us,
Assuming the ball stays in bounds.
yeah.
scamper over.
And if it doesn't go, if it goes out of bounds, it'd be a turnover on whoever touched it.
Let's say Jack's on defense, I'm on offense. I shoot. You're on Jack's team as well.
Mhm.
You guys are defending me.
Yeah.
I shoot. He tips it.
Yeah.
If I get possession of the ball, it's an offensive rebound for me and nothing for him.
Correct.
But if he tips it to you, his defensive rebound
Okay. And nothing for me.
and nothing for you.
Okay. But now I'm on your team, and I tip it to you. That's an offensive rebound for you.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. So you intentionally miss, and Jack will just tip him back out to you.
Yes.
There you go. This is like when we talk when an angle ball. You know, we did our player grades, and it was like you got plus points for like missing shots if your teammate got it, and so people were just like heaving them like nowhere near.
Well,
That's
still
what y'all
overall
gotta,
minus.
No, it's a net
For the
pos-
shooter, it's a minus.
No, I think we were doing it -1 for the shot and +2 for the mirror.
Plus 2 for an offensive mirror.
For the other guy to get the
Yeah.
mirror. Like
And then if
it'll
they
hurt
gave
the
it back-
shooter.
But
and then if they-
it was not a minus shot though, so
Correct.
it was just
Correct.
-1.
And I only -1.
Scuff system.
Man,
That's too
we
much.
No,
gotta-
I do like that. The way
It's
that
too
was
much for an
calculated.
offensive mirror. I do like the initial thought. The weight is wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, offensive mirror maybe. Yeah.
Hey,
That's fair.
we'll change it Saturday. We'll
but
fix
I
it.
do like the original thought because
Completely agree.
shooting an angle ball. If you
It's a good way to
we
put-
say all the time to any new player, any shot that ends up with your own team is a great shot. I don't care
Correct.
if you miss the ball by 50 yards.
100%. The shot quality is a huge factor in angle ball. It should be factored into the game grade. It scratches like the advanced analytics part of my brain,
Mhm.
but I'm not sure. I think an offensive mirror is really not that hard to get. Like most of them are
It's
kind
not.
of freebies.
Yeah.
So +2 maybe in hindsight was weighted too much.
Saturday morning. Wait, is this Saturday or is this still Friday? Saturday morning, 9 a.m. We're expecting freezing rain and 30 degrees with a real feel of 21.
What if we're basically out of time, so never mind. I was like, what if we tried a Friday night game? Because it maybe isn't raining yet.
Friday night at 7. It'll be a real feel of 30. That'd be possible with a 20% chance of rain.
I mean, it's going to be very chilly because there's not even any sun out to try and help a little bit.
Friday, we could try Friday afternoon game.
But
Friday morning.
Saturday
game.
is brutal.
Yeah. We'll figure that we would technically have time after the show to try and message
Sure,
people.
sure.
By that I mean we'd have like about an hour.
Or we just send a text to Win right now and say, yo,
Yeah, I'm gonna text him right now.
get on it. With that being said, we're not here to talk.
That's
I mean,
summer. That's a part of our summer.
It's a tertiary reason we come, I guess, is like, to chat a little bit and hang out. But that's not really why we're here. And we are here to break down the AFC and
It's
NFC
the primary reason our
championship
viewers
game.
are here.
Possibly. I couldn't tell you who the viewers are. If it's like Trail, probably not.
Yeah.
If it's
Chromie.
Abby or Chromie, that probably becomes a little bit more of a reason. But yeah, we're here to break down the AFC and NFC championship game. And then we have 6 off-season primers for y'all. Our 3 respective teams, Commanders, Saints, Chargers, and then Bills, Bengals, and Cowboys as well, being the other 3. So we'll get to those after we preview the 2 championship games. Shall we get into those?
Yeah. So we're starting off with the championship games.
Yes, I think we start there.
Makes sense. Take it away.
Patriots at Broncos, AFC Championship game, 2 p.m. on Sunday, and New England is favored by 4.5, largely because, as y'all already know, Bo Nix isn't playing. It's Jared Stidham time, and so it puts a huge question mark on a Denver Broncos offense that already was not like a phenomenal unit, and now you're rolling with a backup, and not even one of the like high caliber backups of the league, I would say. But even still, the Broncos defense is so good, and they're playing at home. New England's only a 4.5 point favorite. What are y'all's thoughts on this game? How much Like, what do y'all expect from Jared Stidham? What do you think he needs to do to, give the Broncos an avenue to win this game, or is it just solely on their defense?
I can talk about it. That's obviously going to be one of the biggest talking
Sure.
points in this game is Jarrett Stidham. He's making his 5th career start and his 3rd career start for Sean Payton. He hasn't started a game since the 2023 season. He started 2 games with the Denver Broncos, and then he's started 2 other games with the Raiders the year prior. One of the things that's been mentioned a few times this week, and it's potent that it's mentioned again, is that Stidham he was Sean Payton's first free agency signing like ever since he joined Denver. Stidham signed a 2-year, $12 million contract this offseason as well to stay with the team, to stay as a backup of the team. So translation, Sean Payton loves this guy.
Yeah.
If he's the first guy you target when you go to this new franchise in Denver, and then a guy you want to bring back and you pay $6 million to be a backup per year, Sean Payton likes the guy. Stidham likes him. He knows he can trust in Jarrett Stidham to a degree. If it means anything to you, Stidham did start and play in 2 preseason games this year. In those 2 games, he was actually electric. He was 30 for 38, 376 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. He had 3 carries for 36 yards, and if it means anything to you as well, they were 2-0 when he was the starting quarterback in the preseason. Sam Ellinger ended up backing him up in both of those 2 games and came in the second half. But Stidham was really efficient. Of course, didn't turn the ball over in the preseason, albeit against backups. But Stidham also had a solid college career, and that's more than likely where a lot of people will know his name, starting 1 year at Baylor, and then he started 2 years at Auburn after he transferred to Auburn. His freshman year, he led Baylor as high as number 6 in the country and led Auburn in his junior season to an SEC West title, and they were 1 game away from the college football playoff, where they ended up losing in the SEC championship to Georgia. They'd lost that year to number 3 Clemson on the road and in Death Valley, the other Death Valley, LSU. But he had wins over Tuscaloosa, or not over Tuscaloosa, over Alabama in the Iron Bowl. For State fans, Jarrett Stidham was 1-1 against Mississippi State in his career, but he was 0-1 in Starkville, which is the better selling point there. For like him in this game, he obviously, if he puts up efficient numbers like he did in the preseason, they got a chance. One of the things to note is that Bo Nix this year had a passer rating of just 87.8, which is below an average-ish passer rating for an average game for a quarterback. It is the lowest passer rating by a team to win 12-plus games since the 2015 Broncos, the year Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl with the elite defense, 2 years removed from his elite offensive year, and the loss against Seattle. They ended up beating Carolina in Peyton's last ride, and he had a similar passer rating to Bo Nix this year. So, translation, Jarrett Stidham doesn't have to have an elite passer rating to be in a spot where the Broncos can end up winning this game. Something to note, like, this is a quarterback that he can run. He has mobility. He's not a known runner, but there is one thing to note. He's known for running when the game is like, it's a big game, when it's a huge game against a big opponent. And so I would not be shocked if he uses his legs. In college, his career high in terms of like rushing yards and rushing attempts came against teams like number 6 Oklahoma State when he was at Baylor, against Alabama in the Iron Bowl, Georgia in the SEC Championship, his senior year at number 5 Georgia, and to open that year against number 6 Washington. His career high rushing game in the NFL, and his 4 starts came against Kansas City and Mahomes. So this is a quarterback that when it is required and it is a huge moment, he's not afraid to use his legs and not afraid to go pick up first downs. So I won't be, and you shouldn't be surprised if that's something he tries to do this Sunday against New England, is use his legs and pick up critical first downs. I think he can be efficient. He can have a good day. On the other hand, New England, their last 2 weeks have given up just 19 points, 9.5 per game. And Denver scored 33 last week, but a lot of that was on the shoulders of short fields that were handed to them by Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. I think he's got a decent chance to have a good enough game, but I think a talking point a lot this week was that it's more so reliant on Drake May playing poorly than it is on Stidham playing great for Denver to win. Other talking points to talk about, this is obviously the AFC Championship that we all expected here. We all predicted Denver and New England in the AFC Championship.
Of course.
Sanders has it a TikTok, if that's what you want to call it, with him picking the Denver Broncos to win the AFC West. But
one of my greatest seer moments.
I don't think he had them in the AFC Championship game, considering Buffalo and Baltimore and Kansas City and Houston and his Chargers even, and my Raiders even.
And the Jets.
And the Jets, of course, yes, with Justin Fields. These were preseason odds to win the Super Bowl, these two teams. New England was plus 6,000, and Denver was plus 2,200. So these teams were – Denver was right around the 10 range in terms of odds to win the Super Bowl coming into the year, and New England was roughly around 20. So this is not the AFC Championship we expected, but it was something that we may have been able to predict as we got halfway through the season. These have been the two teams that have had the best record in the AFC for a long time. They never played each other this season. Obviously they had really, really weak schedules that they've played this year. A lot of people have been calling both of these teams frauds, Denver more so than New England. This will be the first time that they've played since Christmas Eve of 2023, when Bailey Zappi outdueled Russell Wilson as the Pats won their fourth game that season, which led to them picking second overall and picking Drake May instead of Caleb Williams. And it also eliminated the Broncos from the playoffs. It was also one of Russell Wilson's last starts for the Denver Broncos. The next week he was benched for Jarrett Stidham. So some tidbits towards this game. The stat you've been hearing on this show, especially for a month now, is Denver's home win streak, and that was snapped by Jacksonville, but they've won 14 of their last 15 at home. What you haven't been told, and no one has really talked about, because I didn't even realize it until I looked at it today, New England's 8-0 on the road this year. They won all 8 games in the regular season on the road, and their road wins are their best wins they've had this year as well. They've won on the road at Buffalo. They've won on the road at Baltimore, both of those primetime games. And then they've won on the road at Tampa Bay, which was a huge swing game about middle point in the season. And then they went in and beat Spencer Rattler in the Superdome, a massive win early in the year. They also have a win in Miami in September when the hot temperatures are the hottest and the most belief is there in Miami.
Sure.
That was their bounce-back victory after, the worst loss in the National Football League this season when the Raiders beat them week 1. I think for me, everyone's going to be talking about Jarrett Stidham and what he's going to do against New England's defense and what they've done for a few weeks now. But I do think the matchup we're going to be watching is New England's offense versus the Broncos' defense. And if you don't mind, Sanders throwing that graphic up as well. It's strength versus strength is the best way to describe this matchup here. This year, New England is the second best scoring offense at 28.8 points per game. They are fourth in passing yards at 250 and sixth in rushing yards at 128. On the opposite side, it's the strength as well for Denver. They're 18.3 points per game, is third in the National Football League. They've only giving up 187 passing yards per game, and then the second best rushing defense at 91 per game. That being said, Buffalo last week was able to run the football well with James Cook and throw the football well through the air. The biggest discrepancy between these two teams where it is strength versus weakness, New England's offensive line, and specifically Drake May, and the Broncos' defensive line. The Broncos set the franchise record for sacks, having 71 this year. In the regular season, Drake May was sacked the third most out of any quarterback at 47. The past 2 weeks, he's been sacked 5 times in each game against the Chargers and Texans defensive lines. And then, of course, this is the Broncos defensive line that leads the league in sacks. So it is a critical talking point to this game. Something that Drake May struggled with both of these 2 weeks has been fumbles. He's been putting the ball on the turf. He, in fact, has put the ball in harm's way a lot. he has the most fumbles and interceptions combined in 2 playoff wins in NFL history.
Yeah.
2 back-to-back playoff wins in NFL history, having 10 fumbles and interceptions combined. That doesn't include fumbles lost. That just includes fumbles in general. And so for May, like, if you go back and watch a lot of his fumbles, there's one of them against Houston where he's like immediately pressured and it's his blind side. There's nothing he can do about it. But one thing he has been doing is he's been holding the ball, pumping the ball, trying to hit something deep down the field, seeing the pressure literally in front of his face and saying, "Oh, I don't care. I'm gonna try to get rid of the ball." And he's fumbled it a ton. He did that twice in the Chargers game and twice in the Texans game. Those are 2 things that like can't happen. And what better example than what happened last week in Denver with Buffalo and the Denver Broncos, where Buffalo just handed Denver the football, and it was the reason they won that game.
Yeah.
May was kind of asked about this week, and he said, he's going to obviously look to protect the football. No one's game plan is to fumble 4 times and go out there and win. But he said, and this is the part I'm directly quoting, "But you know me, I'm always going to try to take the shot." And so it sounds like he's going to take an aggressive mindset into this game. And that could spell trouble for Drake May and the Patriots. It's something I would be fearful of. I do think, like, if New England doesn't turn the football over, there's no way Denver can win. If Denver doesn't win the turnover battle, it doesn't feel like, if they don't get a free possession.
I mean, they could punt
points,
every time and win 3-0.
in theory.
Just putting that out there as a possibility.
In theory. I think Denver's got to turn the football over, and that means Drake May's got to protect it. And that's the critical one right there, is the sacks, is negative plays, stopping New England drives, but also the fumbles that have been forced on these pass rushers, especially the last 2 weeks. It's something to look at. What are things that you guys are looking at, though, specifically, before we get into picking this game?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me was what you just touched on, and it's, can Drake May protect the football on the road against this defense? Because I think that's their avenue to winning based on who's on the other side. I don't want to completely rule out Jared Stidham, but at the same time, I kind of am with the way the Patriots defense has been playing. And so I trust in a vacuum New England's offense to put up more points than Denver's offense. But then you start throwing in the variables like turnovers, and then Jared Stidham just has to drive 30 yards for a touchdown. And that's a lot easier than 70 or, special teams, whatever. So I really think Drake May needs to take care of the football. I had not heard that quote. I'm not sure I love that quote from him. I love it and I hate it. I get the sentiment. I want my QB to be confident. But at the same time, you got to protect the ball. Even like Ramondre Stevenson, kind of a bit of a known fumbler. Protect the football. That's really what I'm looking for. And then for Jared Stidham, again, real quick, Bo Nix, I've seen the stat going around that Bo Nix has been the best at avoiding pressure since coming into the career. His pressure to sack percentage is crazy low. And so can Jared Stidham kind of have some of that same magic? You mentioned his legs some. I'm not sure if I necessarily love the idea of him having to make plays with his legs. I think ideally, while he can a little bit, he doesn't have to. Because that scares me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and then also, did you touch on this? Because I was listening, I had kind of forgotten Sean Payton's success with backup quarterbacks. He's done a really good job with them traditionally. You think about the Taysom Hill era, when he would come in occasionally for a game or two. He always had an excellent game plan to work around Taysom Hill.
Jameis Winston was an MVP
Winston.
candidate before he got hurt.
Teddy Bridgewater, I believe, went 5-0 in a stretch in the middle of the season in a Drew Brees year. So you just think about all the backup quarterbacks Sean Payton has coached. He's kind of been the Matt LaFleur, Malik Willis that we've seen in the past couple of years, where it just feels like, I don't know, you watch it, you think, I don't think this is sustainable, but wow, they look really good today. They look good this week. And Jarrett Stidham doesn't have to go 12-5, 11-6. He's got to go 2-0 with a really good defense on the other side. So that's my takeaway there is I'm not going to say I expect a good game from Jarrett Stidham, but it would not surprise me at all for Jarrett Stidham to post an efficient stat line, to not have a lot of turnovers. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest to see a good game from Stidham, because that's kind of what we've seen from backup quarterbacks under Sean Payton. And on the flip side, I've kind of realized that I'm a Patriots hater. And it's not that I hate the team. I think I'm going to have doubts about this team until they have the Super Bowl trophy because of their schedule. Because I know you listed, like, the wins they had against the Bills and the Buccaneers, all those road wins. Two of those teams finished third in their division. None of them made the playoffs. So I think, or maybe one of them did. Right
Buffalo
now,
was the
Buffalo
only
made the playoffs. Thank you. The Bills made the playoffs. The other three that you listed did not. Right now, they've only got one win on the road against a playoff team, and that was the Bills that they beat early in the season. Every other playoff team they've beat has been at home. That's been in the playoffs when they hosted the Texans, and the week before that when they hosted in the wild card game. They haven't been tested on the road, and I don't think that the Buccaneers gave them a test. I don't think that the Saints. I don't think that was a test. I don't think that you can be talking about a
You don't
team.
think the Bills gave them a test?
The Bills did give them a test, but even the Bills, it was not a good Bills game, and maybe you can argue that was because the Patriots made them play bad football. I'm not trying to like fully discredit the Patriots. I'm just being honest, and I will admit, like, the minute they win I won't believe it if they win today, but the minute they win the Super Bowl, I will be like, I was totally wrong. Y'all prove me wrong. That's on me. But right now, and I think I'm valid to be a little bit questionable of the schedule that y'all have faced. So that's kind of where I am, and I don't think that you can use the Saints as like a good, like, well, they went into the Superdome and they got a win.
That was clearly said in semi-mockery as Spencer Rattler was still the QB in that moment.
Oh, well, it was with the other ones. You listed with the other ones. I don't think that the Buccaneers, as good as the Buccaneers looked at the beginning of the season, I don't think that was a great test because they just fell apart for who knows what reason. I think that I still have doubts about the schedule they faced, and so until they win the Super Bowl, because now they luck into playing a team with a backup quarterback. Like, it just has been like a charade or a comedy of wild games where the C.J. Stroud chooses, and once again, maybe you argue that the Patriots made C.J. Stroud play that way. I don't think they did. I think that C.J. Stroud just had got the yips. That's the word I was looking for. He got the yips as a quarterback.
They also got to play playoff Justin Herbert.
Yeah, they got to play playoff Justin Herbert, which some people would say is atrocious. I would just say he has been bad in the playoffs, not that he is bad in the playoffs. But yeah, that's my thing. There is the Patriots still have to prove it to me. And if any Patriots fans are watching this, I do apologize if that makes you mad because you think they've already proved it. They haven't proved it to me yet. So once they do, more power to them. Credit to them.
So you're gonna pick the Broncos?
I mean, I don't have to pick yet. We don't. Are you ready to get into the pick?
I do think we're ready to get into the pick. I don't know if you're first though.
It's still
It's
JP.
still me.
Yeah.
Because we've been tied, or JP's had the lead for weeks now.
I've so this spread opened as large as like 6.5. It got bet up to 7.5. It's now down to 4.5. I did feel like earlier in the week I was going to pick the Broncos to cover the spread, really regardless of what happened. And then I've just had a feeling over the last 2 days that Denver's going to win this game. And this is my seer prediction. And, I've had a few of these this year. I'm only going to tell you the ones that I got correct, like picking Miami to beat Ohio State, or picking Indiana to go on the road and beat Oregon.
Don't forget Cincinnati to beat the Steelers, I believe, on Thursday Night Football.
Correct. Joe Flacco.
Yeah,
and Cincinnati to beat the Steelers. So it is one of two games this weekend, but I think Denver's going to win.
Wow.
I think everyone's pretty consensus picked New England pretty much all week, or felt like they were leaning towards New England all week. I don't feel that way. I think this game is going to be close, really, regardless of what happens. 71% of the money is on New England just to cover the spread, which means their money line is probably up to like 90% of the public betting on them. I'm going to be in that 10%. I'm going to take Denver to win. I think Denver covers. It's not what I want. I'd rather have New England in the Super Bowl. I think we all would. But I do think Denver gets enough done. I like Sean Payton. I like with what he does with backup quarterbacks, as Sanders mentioned. I thought Jared Stidham, his preseason numbers were telling enough that he's not going to struggle a ton in this moment. Now there's no way to replicate starting your first start in 2 years in the AFC Championship game, but you're at home. You'll have that defense. If he doesn't turn the ball over, I think they've got a good chance in this game. I think Denver gets it done, wins it 17-14, and the Broncos march on to the Super Bowl in San Francisco in 2 weeks
I'm also going Denver.
Okay.
to win and cover.
I'm not gonna pick them to cover because I could definitely see that. Like
Well, you would pick them to cover, but not
I
to
would
win.
pick to cover, but not to win.
I was gonna say yeah.
Because picking the win does not benefit me or hurt me any. And I can't piss the Patriots fans off too much. I already went on my spiel about how I think they
I think
might
it's
be
too late.
fraudulent. Maybe I got to do whatever I can to save face though. But I am going to pick Denver to cover. I promise I'm not playing for the tie. No one else can see the spreadsheet. Me and JP are tied at 31-33, which is not good. But I am not just playing for the tie. I'm just waiting for my moment. It may come down to the Super Bowl.
It may.
Imagine that. I think if it comes down to the Super Bowl, we each have to write our picks on a piece of paper. Because I don't want to have I don't want to hear what you have to say. I'm gonna write mine down on a piece of paper.
If y'all are tied, I think y'all can write it down on a piece of paper and hand it to me or something, or
Yeah.
text me your pick
yeah.
if y'all want.
You want to go ahead and do your pick, Jack?
Yeah, I'm taking New England. Which, no surprise, right?
Yeah,
I think
hot take there.
I've been a little higher on New England for one thing than y'all have been. I mean, the totem pole has had them crazy high for a while now, and I've also just been lower on Denver than other. Maybe the average person, and now I have a reason to be even lower on Denver, and that's the fact that they don't have their starting quarterback, who I don't really think is fantastic, but I'd wager say he's better than Jared Stidham. So I'm gonna take New England to go on the road and win and cover, and that can take us to our next game.
Hold up real quick, Jack. I've got some interest. So, y'all got a big women's basketball game tonight. LSU coming to town.
Yeah, huge.
Would you care to guess the spread of that game?
LSU by 21.
Mm-mm.
Higher.
Yeah.
27.
Nope. Higher.
34.
30.5. It's
30
30.5. It's still, I believe, the largest spread of any of the SEC women's basketball games tonight. I'm gonna go double check that real quick.
I mean this no troll. I'm sure head coach Joni Taylor is a great person and is very fun to be around and is very nice. I believe JP would be a better basketball coach in terms of X's and O's than she would be. There's so many games where we come out and it's kind of a close game, and then we had the game where we didn't make a field goal for the last 19 minutes of the game. Or
That's crazy.
Our game against Texas. We're only down by 10 or 5 after the first quarter. Maybe we can be a little frisky. Just kidding, we lost by 50. There's just no way you can tell me that she knows what she's doing.
On the bright side,
However,
y'all are not undefeated in the conference.
This is true. And she's a decent recruiter, so theoretically we should have some of the players to do so. But we just don't care. We just don't care about women's basketball. I don't think she'll be fired until some donor decides to care enough to be here's money to fire her.
Which is crazy. I feel like y'all would have pretty avid women's basketball donors given your success in that sport.
Yeah, I just think people were content to let the Gary Blair era ride off into the sunset. Even his last couple years weren't very good.
Yeah.
And then Joni Taylor was kind of supposed to be a big hire. She was up and coming, and we hired her from Georgia, a bigger program in terms another Power 4 team. And it just hasn't worked out. And with how much focus football and baseball and basketball, men's basketball have had over this past couple years, and the scramble of we need NIL for this, we need NIL for that.
Yeah.
It's just kind of been pushed to the side.
Wonder if A&M legend Kennedy Carter, or Chinity Carter, as me and my friends called her growing up, would come back and coach.
What do you mean? What did y'all call her growing up?
Chinity Carter.
That's her name.
It's Kennedy.
No, it's Trinity.
Is it? There's no way.
Yeah.
I never once heard her actually called Chinity Carter. Was that actually her name?
Yeah. I'm confused.
I
I feel like I'm in a it's like a Mandela effect.
I swear her name was spelled CH, but it was pronounced Kennedy.
I only ever heard it pronounced Trinity.
Schubert. Well, I guess me and my friends were not that funny then.
Y'all were right though. I mean, y'all
Yeah.
were right.
Well, then that's not funny. We
She's
just
playing in Mexico right now, I believe.
Okay.
Let's move on
Let's
to the NFC Championship game.
There you go.
Rams at Seahawks. Seahawks dominated the 49ers last week, and the Rams eked one out in overtime against the Bears. Seahawks at home are favored by 2.5. Y'all's thoughts on this game, keys to this game, trends, whatever y'all got.
Well, this is early being coined the real Super Bowl this week.
Okay.
It'll be the trilogy matchup between Los Angeles and Seattle, and I can give a quick synopsis of the first
Please
two
do.
matchups. For starters, Seattle's going to look to be the first team ever since the NFL expanded to 32 teams in 2002 to beat two divisional opponents en route to a Super Bowl appearance. Meanwhile, the Rams will look to be the first team since Tom Brady's Bucks in 2020 and the COVID year, to win 3 games on the road en route to a Super Bowl appearance. These two teams, of course, have already played twice, being that they're in the same division. Round 1 was about midway through the season. Both teams were 7-2 going into the game. Darnold on the road at Los Angeles. They were trying to take full control of the division. Darnold threw 4 picks en route to a blowout. You would think if he were to throw 4 picks, but no. Darnold threw 4 picks, and yet Seattle still had a kick at the end of the game from 60-plus to win the game. It speaks massively of how good the Seattle defense is. We'll have more numbers on that here in a second. Stafford had just 130 passing yards, but LA found success rushing the football, running 22 times for 119 yards, 5.4 per carry. The Rams started 2 of their 3 touchdown drives on the Seattle 3-yard line and Seattle 25-yard line due to interceptions. They started 4 drives across midfield in this game and scored just 14 points on those drives, and Seattle kicked 3 red zone field goals. A game where if you looked at one stat, Sam Darnold's 4 picks, you would think would tell the entire story. It did not. This was a game that Seattle's defense and the lack of Seattle's offense's ability to score touchdowns allowed Los Angeles to escape, in my opinion, with a win, even though they were +3 in the turnover margin. In round 2, Stafford got his bread back. He got his moves back, but they ended up losing. Stafford threw for 457 and 3 touchdowns on Thursday Night Football, the game of the year, some are quoting. I would disagree. I have a different game of the year.
Fair.
Seattle Seahawks, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Week 3. Go watch it. It was insane. Nakua had 12 catches for 225 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. Seattle led early 7-0, and then it was all Rams from there. LA led 30-14 in the fourth quarter when the Seahawks were driving. Darnold throws a pick on the Rams' 3-yard line. Los Angeles picks up 1 first down and goes 3 and out. They punt to Rashid Shaheed. Rashid Shaheed returns it for a touchdown, notably placing the ball just across the goal line and then running back to the sideline, essentially trying to tell you that, hey, job's not finished. We got a lot of work to do. Seattle would score again later, goes for 2 twice, the second 2-point conversion being one of the weirder you've ever seen. A backward pass that is batted at the line, goes into the end zone, and is recovered by Charbonnet as he just walks in and picks it up for a score to tie the game at 30-all. Seattle would then get a 3rd touchdown after the Rams scored on a 58-yard touchdown pass to Nakua in overtime, and then would score a 2-point conversion for their 3rd touchdown and 3rd 2-point conversion combo in overtime, winning 38-37. The Rams became the only team in NFL history to lose a game in overtime after scoring a touchdown in overtime. In those 2 games comparison between these two teams, Sam Darnold had 2 touchdowns through the air and 6 picks. Stafford had 5 touchdowns and 0 picks. The 2 backs, now that there will be no Charbonnet, it's just 1 back in Seattle and 1 in Los Angeles. K9 had 27 carries for 168 and 2 touchdowns. Kyron had 35 for 161 and a score. The 2 best receivers in National Football League in terms of receiving yards, in terms of receptions, were both excellent in both of these 2 games as well. JSN had 17 catches on 25 targets for 201 yards and a touchdown, and Puka Nakua had 19 catches on 24 targets for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. These have been, they've had a lot of success offensively, both these teams. in all reality, Darnold's picks is the only reason that Seattle hasn't scored more points in this series, and so this becomes one of the more heavily anticipated third-time rematches that we've ever had, especially in an NFC Championship game. Seattle's no stranger to beating divisional opponents in the NFC Championship game, most notably beating the San Francisco 49ers in the Legion of Boom year. Speaking of the Legion of Boom, this year's defense has been essentially the Legion of Boom. This year, the opponent's points per game is a 2-point difference, which is the largest difference. But this is through 18 games, which includes Seattle's 17 games they played this year, and their 1 playoff game. The Legion of Boom's 16 regular season games and their 2 playoff games en route to the Super Bowl. These were their numbers. They had to the 10th of a yard per game, the same amount of yards given up, which is insane. In terms of sacks, 47 to 49. Opponent passing touchdowns is 18 to 20. And then both teams had 7 wins of 15-plus points en route to a Super Bowl. Now, Seattle's coined their defense this year as the dark side, coined by Leonard Williams. It's a Star Wars reference, of course. And they have, kind of lived up to that tale. They have been a lot of bad boys, which I would rather use a cuss word there because that is the best way to describe them. The way that they hit, the way that they run, the speed that they play with, they give up the least yards per catch or yards after the catch in the National Football League. All their visors, their sick armbands and whatnot. It's a bunch of freaks and dominant hard hitters on this team, and they will go up against the number 1 offense in the National Football League, the Los Angeles Rams. Rams are scoring 30.5 points per game this year, and of course Seattle giving up just 16.6. So strength versus strength, and what is going to be coined as the real Super Bowl between Seattle and Los Angeles this weekend. Any thoughts from y'all too? I got some others. If no.
How many?
Go ahead. No,
I wanted
you
to
first.
know how many interceptions do they have? Did you find?
I didn't check.
Okay, I'm just curious. 20. They've got 18 in the regular season this year, and they had 28 in the regular season of 2013. That's
sense.
incredible. Yeah, not to take away from the comparison. I was just curious. I didn't mean to find a stat to dispute it,
No,
but
that's
that
fair.
is a ridiculous number of interceptions from the 2013 team. Go ahead, Jack.
Well, I was going to say how I'm looking at this game, and this game is, as I'm also looking ahead to picking in a couple of minutes, really hard for me to kind of get a read on in the sense of, for me, it's like the Rams is all going to come down for me to Matthew Stafford and the 2 wide receivers. What kind of day can they have? They weren't great in Chicago, but they've had massive performances. They were really good in Carolina, right? And so they're on the road for the 3rd time. What kind of day can they have? Because I don't know if I really trust like the run game to go crazy. I don't really know if I trust the Rams defense to shut down the Seahawks. The only person that's going to shut down the Seahawks offense, in my opinion, this is another big key piece, is Sam Darnold. Like, what kind of day does Sam Darnold have? The 6 picks in the 2 matchups really looms large. He was good last week, but he had to do almost nothing last week. I mean, they just kind of had the game in their hands from the jump, right? So it's like, I feel like the Seahawks are the better team here. The totem pole I'm about to unveil will echo that for the first time. But it's still so freaking hard to trust Sam Darnold to, like, lead a team in a massive playoff game. And I genuinely hope that he comes out and has a good game and, like, proves everyone wrong, because I think it'd be a really cool moment. But I guess similar to you with your Patriots, like, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
I've not really seen Sam Darnold have kind of his moment in the spotlight yet. So I almost feel like I could be stupid for picking Seattle in that sense.
I would love to see that from Darnold, because that'll prove that just because you've always had bad playoff games doesn't mean that you're going to continue having bad playoff games.
Well, to be fair, he's now played in 2 playoff games.
No. Is it just
two?
two? The one
'Cause
last
he
year and the
lost
one this
last
year?
year was horrible, and then the one this year, I mean, he graded out well and stuff. He probably had a better performance than Justin Herbert's ever had in the playoffs.
This is true.
But at York, it wasn't some like no one's going to remember the Sam Darnold performance against the 49ers in
See,
5 years.
what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna call Week 18 last year a playoff game. I'm gonna do that to push my narrative.
Well, then you have to call Week 18 this year as a playoff game as well.
Yeah,
But he wasn't great
I'm
in
not
that
actually,
game
not actually
either.
gonna do that. I'm not gonna twist the narrative like that. But yeah,
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, the time he was with the Jets, obviously the Jets weren't sniffing the playoffs.
Nope.
So his first appearance was last year.
He was a backup with San Francisco when they went to the Super
Mhm.
Bowl. Injuries, we talked about this a little bit with Seattle last week leading up to their game. Of course, San Francisco with all their injuries, but it quickly became a mute point in that game. And a lot of people turned off the TV, because it was a blowout and whatnot, and it wasn't worth watching anymore. And then when you turn off the TV, you don't continue watching the game, of course, and so you miss some things. Zach Charbonnet tears his ACL later in that game. He will not play, of course, for the rest of the year and may miss next year as well. And then Charles Cross, which was a huge issue potentially coming in to last week's game. He finally returns after missing 3 games at the end of the regular season. He hurt his foot, is what they're calling it, in the third quarter last week. He said he felt fine, and he said he's felt fine this week, but he has not practiced yet this week. And he is their starting left tackle, of course, Mississippi State legend, got his big contract extension earlier this year. They also don't have a single left tackle who's taken a snap at left tackle for them this year that has practiced this week. Their other 2 backups have also been hurt and missed practice so far this week. So left tackle is a potential huge issue going into this week. You can think of guys like Jared
good
Verse,
point.
their last year's Rookie of the Year, or Defensive Rookie of the Year, and Byron Young, their leading sacker the last 2 years in Los Angeles, as potential beast. That's, of course, Sam Darnold's blind side. That's not news you want to hear, and that's not news that's been really publicly shared outside of Seattle circles. So it's something to look at. Cross will probably play, but how limited will he be in that game? Are they going to be forced to throw a tight end over there and chip a ton during the game? Now, Elijah Arroyo, Seattle's second-round pick this past season, did not play last week, but he was a full participant in practice this week. He has had a great rookie year, and the use of their 12 personnel and their 13 personnel in Seattle is really dynamic, especially with A.J. Barner, who, of course, was he's been healthy, but in the 2 games against the Rams, A.J. Barner had 14 catches for 119 yards and a touchdown. So that's 7 for 60 and half a touchdown per game. He's been really good in both of the 2 games against the Los Angeles Rams. They will have Elijah Arroyo back, which helps A.J. Barner. That's going to help Sam Darnold as well. And then, of course, Darnold was the big injury concern last week with his oblique injury. He played. He looked good, but he's still been limited at practice this week. He's not fully healthy. So that's something, if he takes a hit, pulls a muscle, wakes up wrong, as we talked about on last week's show, it very well could be an issue. The Rams have no key injuries of note, although Mississippi State legend Emmanuel Forbes is dealing with a shoulder injury, but he's likely to play on Sunday.
that's big.
So we should be seeing teams at full strength for the most part on both sides. Zach Charbonnet, of course, missing, but like Devontae Adams is playing, Puka Nacua is playing.
Yeah.
That was a huge concern, I felt like, for me, for whoever survived the Rams-Bears game, given the cold weather and everything. Does someone come down with the flu? Does someone hurt something because it's so damn cold?
Yeah, pulled
Stuff
muscle
like
or
that.
anything.
Nothing really of note to talk about coming into this week. Byron Young does have like a kind of a hamstring thing, but they're more so resting him than he's missing this week. So full strength teams, which of course is not what we got last week with San Francisco and Seattle, and that's going to make this one even better. The Rams are 7-4 this year on the road. They were 5-4 in the regular season and then won their last 2 games on the road in the playoffs. And then Seattle is 7-2 at home. That includes their one postseason win last week. They've been dynamic on the road throughout Mike McDonald's career and been bad at home with Mike McDonald. But since the year they won the Super Bowl, they haven't lost a game at home in front of fans in the playoffs. Period. The last 13 years, they haven't lost. They have lost 1 game at home, but it was the COVID year, and there were no fans in the building, so it doesn't count. So they have not lost a game at home since they won the Super Bowl, and of course they were dominant at home that year as well. So it is going to be a electric matchup in the NFC Championship game, and we can get into picking it unless y'all got any other thoughts.
No.
Nope.
As we'll see on the pyramid, which is actually just a totem pole this weekend, apparently, spoiler alert, we're going to see it on the totem pole as well. Seattle's the best team in football, and they've been the best team in football for a long time. They've moved within, the top 3 a little bit, but for the most part, I've had them as my best team in football for much of the year. The way that they play defense, I think, is really dynamic. A big, part of the argument for picking either of these teams is you're going to just take the 2 games, and you're going to say, oh, if you're the Rams, you're saying, oh, we had a 16-point lead in the fourth quarter, we choked. Oh, Sam Darnold threw 4 picks in the first one. We're going to be chilling. But in Seattle's case, I already made it earlier, the first game was a bad luck stat if you just looked at Darnold's 4 interceptions, and they, deserve full credit for making the comeback that they did in the Thursday Night Football game. So I'm going to use that logic. I'm also going to use the fact that they haven't lost a game at home in the playoffs in front of fans since they won the Super Bowl in 13 years.
Yeah.
And I do think that crowd is going to be rocking. I think it's going to be a problem for the Rams and their communication. Having the veteran quarterback helps them a ton in this game. So, if this was Caleb and the Bears, the spread's going to be bigger, and it's probably more likely leaning towards Seattle. And, Rams are being a very popular pick this week as I stall to try and see where the numbers are at there. 40% of the spread money's on the Rams, actually. So more people are favoring towards Seattle. I'm going to favor with them as well. I'm going to pick Seattle. I got Seattle minus 4.5 per my pyramid as well. So give me the Seahawks. Give me them to advance to the Super Bowl. And so that I have both the 1 seeds pitting against each other in the Super Bowl for me right now.
Yeah.
Boring football. No, I...
Could make for a great Super Bowl.
It's 2 great stories.
Yeah, it is.
One thing I didn't note, these 2 teams had the same odds as New England and Denver in terms of preseason odds to win the Super Bowl. The Rams were plus 2,200, just like Denver was, and then Seattle was plus 6,000, just like New England was.
That's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Man, I really wish we'd gotten the Bills, because then we could have the Bills over the Broncos, because then we could have had the cool story of 2 divisional matchups in the conference championships, which I don't know how often we have that happen. But that would have been another really cool story we did not get. I'm going to go Los Angeles, which I really wish that I wasn't, so that we could have a tie going into the Super Bowl. But I'm going to go with Matthew Stafford and those wide receivers, not necessarily to cook, because I know that defense is fantastic, but to be good enough that they're going to be able to score some points and win this game. Because I do think the Rams' defense is also really, really good. That defensive line is good. And so Emmanuel Forbes, maybe a pick 6 from Emmanuel Forbes. I mean, if there's a quarterback he's going to have it against, it might be playoff Sam Darnold.
I would celebrate it.
Yeah. So would you celebrate that as a former Washington Commander legend?
I would, because to me, it actually just makes so much sense that he just gets a pick 6. He'd maybe will get ran over multiple times in the run game in this game, or get bodied once or twice. But he makes the big play. I mean, that's kind of been his
He's
career.
electric with the ball
He
in his
also
hands.
just, we shouldn't have drafted him. I wanted Christian Gonzalez. Christian Gonzalez was the right pick. That was just a really bad era of Washington football. So, I don't really hate any of the players that didn't really work out.
And also, A.J. Brown is just one of the biggest wide receivers in the NFL, I feel like. You got DK Metcalf, who's, huge, but, A.J. Brown is a terrible matchup for Emmanuel Forbes.
Yeah, but he wasn't good in other games either.
Yeah, it's because he got smoked by A.J. Brown, so his confidence was hurt.
I mean, I saw a video of him getting ran over in the 49ers game. Or not the 49ers game, against the Bears.
Yeah, but his confidence was hurt.
Well, his confidence better be fixed. That's probably how he hurt his shoulder, is getting bowled over.
No, I think I'll bet on the defense having a good enough game against Sam Darnold. Did you talk about the loss of Zach Charbonnet? I mean, Kenneth Walker is still good. So
Kenneth Walker's better. Kenneth
Walker is better than Zach Charbonnet, but it will be weird
against LA too.
Yeah.
Like I said, 27 carries for 168 and 2 touchdowns. He's had 80 plus 75 plus in both of the games.
Yeah.
I don't think. Never say never. I just don't see an avenue where the game comes down and the Rams win and Seattle's going, wow, if we had Zach Charbonnet,
The only way that
the
happens.
ultimate difference.
The only way that
if they get
happens if
stopped on the
Kenneth.
1
Maybe
yard
if it
line.
starts
The
from
only
the
way
1
it
yard
happens
line,
is
yeah.
that, or if Kenneth Walker gets hurt on the first drive.
Well, that is
and
true.
then you're like, well, I wish we
That's
had
the
Zach
avenue.
Charbonnet.
I don't know who's the backup running back now.
I
'Cause
don't know off the top
I'm
of my
just
head.
really curious.
I'll
I'd
look.
love to know before I make my pick.
I'm gonna guess shot in the dark, that Travion guy from A&M that was drafted by Cincinnati.
Trayvon Williams.
Yep, Travion Williams.
I believe is
That's just the like whenever I think random running back, that's the name that comes to mind.
They don't have one that's healthy
for
on
sure
their
he's still
current
on
depth chart.
Cincinnati. Trayvon
They
Williams
don't
is.
have one that's healthy on the current depth.
Cool.
So Rashid
Interesting.
Shaheed.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I'll make my pick while you do some more research. I'm taking Seattle. It's scary because of Sam Darnold stuff, but I think there's just an avenue where even if Sam Darnold is not very good, Seattle could win this game.
Velus Jones Jr.
Yes. Yeah. So give me Seattle.
And
Winning
he is a
coverage.
legend of where?
I don't know if he's a legend of anywhere. Where do you play
He's a
college
legend
ball?
of the 16-team Slugs League, as he was like a very high pick by Gideon
Nice.
in year 1 of the 16-team Slugs League.
Are you sure they won't do?
He had a
that-
team named after him.
Maybe they play one of their fullbacks. Robbie Oos
They just hand it
or
off to,
Brady
like,
Russell.
Hand it off to Austin Barner.
Well, AJ Barner has been
Or AJ.
their tush push guy, so maybe you could run a bunch of tush pushes. You also have Jalen Milrow. Suit him up, and
That
have
would be
him
actually
play running
really,
back.
really cool.
although he has dealt with fumble issues before, but
We'll just tell him, what is it, 5 points of contact?
yeah,
Because when
12 points of
you're a quarterback, you don't do that. Like
Agreed.
you don't run like that. So get him on that, and then send him through the machine where it's like the things on each side that you have to like lower your shoulder
Yep.
and run through. Get him on that all week, and get Jalen Milrow ready as running back. I don't know 7 for the week. Because people did jokingly and somewhat sincerely call him like a running back who played quarterback at Alabama, because he was also, Emmanuel Forbes is electric with the ball in his hands on defense. Jalen Milrow was the same
he
way
had
on the
16 rushing touchdowns that last year at Alabama.
ground. Oh,
So
I know. I won a championship with him in fantasy
Well, you're
football.
also just a Bama fan, so you would
Mm.
you would know that.
Yeah, what's it like, Christmas hater?
We can move on. That's
Yeah, that's it.
Wrap for that game. I think we go ahead and do totem pole and pyramid, and then do you have best bets? I didn't mention at the top of the show.
yeah, but they're just 2.
Sure, correct.
I already gave him.
Because to me, when we go to
Let's not even do that
off-season
then, because it'll be
primers,
like a 45-second video. And
it feels like just a whole separate thing.
Yes,
So
it
I
does.
think we get all the current stuff out of the way before we look at the future.
Let's do it.
Totem pole, very straightforward.
Oops.
It looks exactly like that if I just saw it correctly, which is
Go ahead and put it up there,
Yeah.
because
No, that one.
I'm
yeah,
very confident it's the
Broncos
exact
in
same.
last, and then Patriots third, Rams second, Seahawks first. First time the Seahawks have appeared at the top of the totem pole. I didn't watch a ton of the 49ers game. It was a blowout. I was in the hump. It was a huge game in the hump. I had to be locked in.
Yeah.
But that
Which game was that?
Ole Miss.
Oh, yeah.
That defense is just elite, and I've cooled on the Rams a little bit. I still think they're a great team. I'm a little worried maybe their best ball is behind them in a sense. So the Seahawks are now top of the totem pole. It really came down to I was thinking about who I was going to pick in the Rams-Seahawks game, and it was like, well, if I'm thinking about picking the Seahawks because I think the Seahawks are just better, why are they not at the top of the totem pole?
Yeah.
The shaman also chimed in and was like, yes, you are good logic. Young Jack is what the shaman calls me, because the
Young Jack.
shaman's naturally like 97 years old. I don't
Yeah.
really know, just like old. you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. How old is your shaman, JP? The same?
He's
So I have a she
He's-
shaman, and it's a he shaman over
A
there.
sheman and a heman?
Yeah.
I mean, to get it out there publicly, he's above the age of 18.
Okay, that's
So
good. Yeah.
no one can
Smart.
have any weird thoughts about that.
That's good. That's good. Good to know.
We got to make sure for next season, we get you a physical totem pole,
It'll be in the works for sure.
because that's just gonna be sick to have. The pyramid, we can go ahead and put the pyramid up there. Oh wait, it's already up there. It's the exact same. The pyramid's gonna switch to totem pole variety this week, and this is because I don't feel like the Rams and the Patriots are on the same tier, and so I can't
Sure.
put them on their own little tier and have us have a little block.
A little diamond.
Yeah, so I've got Seattle, Los Angeles, New England, and Denver as my 4 teams in that order, which, of course, will then make the best bets, if you want to call them, and just my pyramid in general, I have New England as not a team that should be favored. Denver's favored by 0.5 point because of home field advantage. And then Seattle should be favored by 4.5. Per me, per Jack, Seattle should be a 3-point favorite, which means he wants you to take Seattle minus 2.5. And he thinks that the Denver Broncos should be a 2-point favorite. So he's going up against his totem pole. But that's just, it's also weird calculations.
The totem pole
I was about to say that's
as
the
a
funniest.
model really falls apart when there's only 4 teams.
Correct.
Because the distance just really isn't there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If you'd like, I can do the same calculations, but it's just going to be the same picks, Denver and Seattle. So it really makes no difference whatsoever.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
But this is the final pyramid of the year, and then very soon we'll have, I guess, our first off-season pyramid.
Yeah,
if we
and then
wanted
we'll
to
do the
that.
full 136-team FBS pyramid.
I can't wait for that. We do need to do that pretty soon.
I need
since
that-
the
I'm
college
gonna-
football season ended.
Yeah, I'm going to put that in my notes so we don't forget.
That's the classic, like, we don't really have anything else to talk about today.
Yeah.
Let's break out the big old FBS pyramid.
So how did Rice end up on tier 14 and not 12?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you see, they lost their quarterback in the transfer portal. I
Who
don't really
didn't?
feel
oh,
good
yes,
about
yes.
whoever's coming in to replace him, TJ Finley or somebody.
But that's the pyramid, the final one of the season. I'll still have technically a pyramid, but I'll just have the 2 teams. Which one's better? I'll just tell you which one to pick per me, which is kind of how this whole thing has worked this year.
Correct.
Our final numbers at this point, we're going to have, of course, 2 games each and then one more in the Super Bowl between us to pick. I am 52.79%, 123 and 110. If I am to go 0-3, I will not have a profitable model. So
That's tough.
we need to at least pick up, if I'm not mistaken, at least one. And I can double check that while I talk about Jax, who is 42 and 28 this year. That is 68%. 60%.
Oh, okay.
I'll
That's-
still take
um,
60%.
yeah, that's
which
a
is
little
an
bit different than
excellent-
68%.
An excellent year for the totem pole. The totem pole had 4 official weeks in the regular season, and then the wild card divisional, and then these 2 rounds. In the playoffs, you're 5-5. For me in the playoffs, I'm 4-6. So we've kind of failed in the playoffs, but we were better in the regular season.
Yeah.
Totem pole had the best week of the year though, and the 2 best weeks of the year by far at 12-3 and 11-5.
12-3
Crazy.
is nuts.
Incredible pairs of weeks for the totem pole. So we can't wait to see our 2 profitable models next year, as I just need to get 1 game right in the final 3,
Yeah.
and we'll have 2 profitable models.
What will happen if the Broncos win and the Seahawks win? And then would you just have blank tiers separating them? Because the Broncos are not the tier right below the Seahawks.
I would just I would take Denver plus whatever the points are. It would kind of be treated almost like a graveyard team.
Wow, imagine being in the Super Bowl and being a graveyard team.
Zombie.
I
I mean-
for right now, if those 2 teams played, the spread is 7. That is what the spread is per Vegas.
Oh.
And that's the same for if Los Angeles plays Denver. It's a 7-point spread. It's also the same if New England wins. They're a 3-point dog to regardless of who they play. So everyone's kind of on their own very similar tiers, if you will. But like I said, 1 more game correct, and we'll have 2 profitable models, which I don't think a lot of podcasts can say that about sports betting. Now, we don't specifically sports bet with our money, but with our knowledge, we would
Yeah.
have made money this year.
I mean,
That's big.
yeah, I've never once placed a sports bet in my life, but if I did, I would have made a lot of money. And so,
I feel like we could find a nickel for you somewhere to start.
nah. I mean, I have placed with other people's money, and so I'm up in that regard. Shout out my boy Angus.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to the best bets?
Real quick, On3 released their top 100 players in college football for next year. Number 33, Mario Craver.
Gig 'em.
Number 34, Bryce Pollock.
Guns up. Shout out CT.
Number 35, Kelly Jones.
Klenga.
That's crazy.
Jones Island.
3 former Mississippi State Bulldogs back to back to back in the top 35.
Jeff Levy Bulldogs, too.
Yeah, all 3 of them. All
I love
3.
me some Mario Craver
Some are
personally.
saying fire him.
Yeah.
Not me.
Not me.
Let's hear your best bets, JP. You got 2 of them, you said.
Yeah, Denver. We're going to take Denver plus 4.5. And we're also going to take Seattle minus 2.5. So the same picks I just gave you. As I said earlier in those predictions, I feel that way physically, and then my pyramid reflects that as well. I think Denver should be favored by 0.5 point, and that's partially due to the lacking of ability to compute a model with just 4 teams to work with. But even still, Denver, I do think, will cover that spread. And then Seattle, Los Angeles, I think Seattle should be a 4.5 point favorite.
Sure.
And so those are our 2 picks. Seattle minus 2.5, Denver plus 4.5 are the 2 best bets in the final, 2 best bets of the year. That's actually a lie. We're going to have a lot of best bets for the Super Bowl because for those, if you don't know, if you're a listener and you know me personally, you know this, but I do love to go all out for the Super Bowl in terms of gambling, and I put together a nice big whiteboard, and I will bet on all of everything. I'll bet
From
on
amount of dogs seen in commercial.
Correct, which
don't fade him, whatever he picks for that. Because
but national anthem length. Who will be shown first during the national anthem? Who will
No
cry
Taylor Swift bets this year.
during the national anthem? We had a Taylor Swift bet though the last 2 years.
color of outfit for the halftime performer.
Last year I would have made a lot more money if they hadn't put a limit on it, but the color of Tom Brady's tie.
Yeah.
The tie that he wore a black tie, I think it was 14 of the 17 games he called.
Yeah.
And that was like the 4th odds-on favorite. So just terrible research.
Also by the sports book. Yeah. Maybe they were like just really trying to go into the read of like it's the Super Bowl, so he's going to spice it up. But Tom Brady just like the ultimate creature of habit.
He wore a black tie, if I'm not mistaken, and that one hit. But we will have a ton of those next week, including like what song is Bad Bunny going to perform first. Will Donald Trump be in attendance, stuff like that. And I can't wait for that. So there will be more best bets in 2 weeks. Well, that concludes the regular season and postseason of best bets.
Amazing.
No 3 Sports just broke the news that Jordan Cena is committed to Oregon. This is according to Pete Nokos. So
that's big.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to our off-season primers?
Yeah. So how do we want to do? What's the play?
I mean, I can go first.
Alphabetical order, or
I would do our 3 teams first.
Okay.
And then we can talk about the other 3 teams, and then I would.
Bro didn't make a Commanders graphic.
No, I did. I just didn't.
He's
I guess
hating.
I didn't. No, I made it.
Wow.
I just didn't put it in. I'm gonna put it in.
I mean, holy.
Well, I guess you can't go first, Jack.
Yeah.
No,
but
diabolical. Give me just a second.
Yeah, do the 6 teams, and then I don't
How
know.
did
I
I
guess make
miss
TikToks
that?
out of them if we wanted to.
True.
But
that's
there's.
fine. And
I
then-
mean, I got a lot of thoughts.
Oh boy.
We can throw around our thoughts on both sides
Sure.
as well. Like especially the draft. It's gonna be a huge talking point very soon. For each of us
draft
here.
TikToks go crazy.
See, I made your graphic. There's your graphic. Have no
we can
fear.
have our first draft TikTok of the year. Could be recorded right here, right now.
We may not even know.
First in this studio.
Yeah.
All right, let's lock into this Commanders off season. Their plans, their off season is going for a while. It's weird because I did the Commanders, I did the Bills, and so for the Commanders, we already have a lot more going on in terms of the hiring process. We've already announced our OC, whereas for the Bills, it's like we're still trying to wait for the waters to clear post their divisional round loss. I'll start with the coaches, though. David Blau's been hired as the OC after Cliff Kingsbury left. A lot of controversy around the hire, mainly because we made it pretty quick. He's a young guy. He's never called plays before. I think a lot of Commanders fans, we were hoping that Mike McDaniel would get the call to be the OC, but either he just didn't want the job or it was too early in the process. He was still kind of sniffing around for head coaching jobs, and David Blau was fixing to go interview for Detroit, so maybe it was a thing like we just can't wait, and so we went ahead and went with our fallback option. Maybe he wasn't the fallback option. He's a highly regarded offensive mind, young guy. I do think he probably is most famous for the video of him celebrating his wife qualifying for hurdles in the Olympics. Great video. Seems like a great guy. But I also think there's like the Commanders' Redskins Washington football team, considering this is like previous years. We've had a lot of great young minds that have gone on other places and done really well. Matt LaFleur was in the building in the 2010s. I believe Shanahan was in the building in the 2010s. Was McVay in the building?
McVay was in the building.
McDaniel was also in there, wasn't he?
McDaniel was. I mean, he would have been a returning guy. And then even more recently, like Kevin O'Connell was in the building. We let him go. And so obviously, like, you can't keep everyone. But I wonder if there's also a thing of, like, maybe this time we will try and bank on the young guy. We also lost everyone else on the offensive staff in terms of we let go our head offensive line guy. Tavita Pritchard went to be the head coach at Stanford. Quarterback coach is gone. So in terms of, like, giving some continuity to Jaden Daniels, if there's a thought of, like, Matt Blau has already been in the building. David Blau, I don't know where Matt came from. David Blau has already been in the building. We want Jaden Daniels to still have a bit of a familiar face. But that's where we're at the offensive coordinator. Defensive coordinator, haven't made a hire yet. Jonathan Gannon's been interviewed. A couple other people have been interviewed. We really tried to push hard for Brian Flores. However, it's been announced he's going back to Minnesota if he doesn't get a head coaching job. So we swung out and missed there. Now we got to pivot. We don't know what the pivot is yet. That's kind of where we are with coaches. Dan Quinn, still the head coach. I think this is a huge year for him. And that's a big worry in terms of, I think, in us trying to bring in position coaches and stuff is he doesn't have stability. If it's another bad year, he's gone. It's maybe not playoffs or busts for him, but it has to be a better season. There has to be some forward progress, or like I said, he's out the door. So a bit of a hot seat for Dan Quinn. I would say probably 6 of 10 going into next season for him, I think, is where I would put the hot seat for him currently. Do y'all disagree, agree with that?
I think it's just you can't have this kind of year again. If
Yes.
you're in playoff contention, making the playoffs guarantees his job. Missing the playoffs puts it maybe at a coin flip.
If you go like 8-9, miss the playoffs, 9-8, miss the playoffs, there's a chance he's still around. But you definitely can't 5 wins. You can't have 5 wins again.
Mm-hmm.
I completely agree. And pivoting more towards personnel side of things, we only have 6 picks in the draft because we made some trades. We're missing our second-round pick. Now, we traded our second-round pick to get Larry Tunzel, who worked out really well. So I'm not going to be like, great trade, Adam. I'm not going to hit you for that. But we do only have 6 picks, and we have a lot of holes to fill, right? So we draft 7th overall. I would be pretty surprised if it's not a defensive player. I think you kind of hope one of the big defensive names falls to you. Maybe the Ruben Bain stuff really goes sideways with the length of his arms. I doubt it, but I'm just saying maybe. Excuse me. I said falls for a reason, right? Maybe Arvell Reese somehow finds his way to 7. Maybe Caleb Downs is on the board at 7. You look to go safety. But I think it's going to be kind of a defensive blue chipper. A guy that you can kind of hope is a defensive playmaker for you. The zag or the pivot would be maybe we decide we want another playmaker for Jaden Daniels because he's the future. And, hey, you can't go wrong with beefing up the offensive weapons. It wasn't necessarily a fantastic cast, and Deebo Samuel's leaving. Maybe even like a Kenyon Sadiq. Some people are really high on him. I don't know if the Commanders are high on him. I would not like him at 7 personally, but some people are like he's a top 10 tight end. Or he's a tight end worth being taken in the top 10. Zach Ertz towards ACL, so he won't be back. Just a thought. I think it's going to be defense. So what do y'all think we're going to do with that pick?
I think, what are your thoughts on David Bailey or Sonny Styles or Peter Woods?
I would love Sonny Styles. David Bailey scares me a little bit that high because he's not the biggest guy and not the best run defender.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't hate that pick. He's a great pass rusher. Peter Woods, I feel like there's some prospect fatigue there. Like one, Clemson didn't have a good year, and so that just kind of hurts in terms of like fan perception, which I can fall subject to. And also, he's been a name for a while, and so like that name doesn't excite me as much as the other ones, if that makes sense.
I think Peter Woods was a guy who I was listening to a draft podcast, and they were talking about him having the opportunity in all of the scrimmages and the East, like all the bowls they have for like prospect guys. Like this would be a great opportunity for him to kind of get out from under the Clemson veil of losing, going 6-6 or whatever they went this year, and like shine among the best prospects in the country. So that I think that's something to watch with him will be how does he look combine wise, how does he look in all of the the prospect bowls that they have,
Sure.
because that's kind of where maybe he can make it clear like, okay, this last season where Clemson was bad, like is irrelevant to my pro potential.
I think you got to go playmaker if you're asking me.
You want like a
Like
offensive
I think about
playmaker, like
think
a
about
weapon?
your running back room.
Yeah.
With Krosky Merritt and Chris Rodriguez and Austin Eckler, who tore his Achilles.
Yeah.
Jeremiah Love is sitting right there.
That crossed my mind as I was looking at it this morning. I think it's just as someone that watched every Commanders game and watched that defense just get shredded repeatedly. Now, if we draft Jeremiah Love, I would in 24 hours be like, oh, what a move. He's a difference maker in the backfield. He's one of the best running back prospects we've seen in a minute. But I just don't know. I don't know if I can go through another season of the defense being that bad, and another season where the defense is bad because it's older and slow.
Yeah.
Bobby Wagner, great season, racked up a ton of tackles, not great in coverage. He's a free agent for one reason, so for one thing, so he's gone. But I would love some speed and youth infused into that defense.
Did
and that's
you
the best
have
spot
any
to do
other
so.
big free agents?
So Bobby Wagner's gone. Debo Samuel is gone. They're kind of really the two big ones, I would say. We really keep a lot of our guys, a lot of our key guys.
Zach Ertz is a tough one.
Yeah, true. But it was kind of time for us to move on from it anyway, and he's hurt. Austin Eckler's a free agent. He's hurt. Andrew Wiley was a fine piece.
Mariota's going to be a free agent.
Mariota's a free agent. That's something we got to address is what we're going to do at backup QB. Tress Way is a huge loss, consistent punter for us.
Mm-hmm.
Austin Eckler's a free agent, but he tore his Achilles. Who knows when he's going to be healthy and ready to go.
Yeah. All of your running backs. Chris Rodriguez Jr. is a free agent. Jeremy Nichols is a free agent. Not that those guys are hard to bring back. I'm sure a lot of them would be willing to. But
Chris
it's
Rodriguez
still just funny.
did you say he's a restricted free agent?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and then obviously we have Bill, right?
Yeah. Not a free agent.
I would not be shocked to see playmaker. I think I am leaning the side of a defensive guy, though.
Defense makes sense, and it's plenty fine. Y'all were the 27th best defense in terms of points per game, so 5th worst. And then you were the worst defense in the NFL in terms of yards given up per game.
And you could feel it watching.
Yeah.
You could really feel it.
Offense struggled too, both for 22nd in the league in points and yards per game. A lot with that was though Jaden Daniels being hurt and the lack of running back room and the offensive line and everything. So there's a lot of pieces to fill.
It kind of feels like we got a blank slate. Like everything really needs some work, and that takes me to the next thing, and that's cap space. We have about $70 million, which is 6th most in the league, and there's ways we could get more. Listening to a Commanders podcast a couple days ago, I listened to, and there's rumors of potentially cutting Payne just because he's not really I think he's getting paid like $26 million, something ridiculous. I don't think it's that high. $28 million. It is even higher, and he's on. We could save like $16 million if we cut him. That's a fair chunk of change. Now the thing is do you trust the other interior defensive lineman, or are you just going to have to go take that money and put it right back into interior defensive lineman? Marshawn Lattimore, we could restructure his contract, save a little bit there. Regardless, we have a lot of money to work with, a lot of cap space to work with. There's just so many holes that money's going to go quick. And you really got to make the most of it, be efficient with it. You can't really afford any misses with it because it's really going to hurt. And then even on that, Laremy Tunsil, I'd love to see him get extended. He's on the last year of his deal. He's kind of said he wants to stay. Obviously, we want him to stay. We just traded for him. He had our best season. I'll say it right now. I was going to save this for later, but he was my 2025 MVP, which so many injuries and a very much an underperforming team.
For your team, not
Yes.
not NFL
Correct.
MVP.
Yes.
The MVP of the Washington Commanders in 2025 is Laremy Tunsil. Played most of the season, missed a couple weeks at the end, but he just was consistent in a team with so many injuries and underperformances that just was not consistent really in any facet. Shout out him, but legitimately, I was trying to give out my 2025 Commanders MVP, and I was like, well, you played 6 games and you
Yeah.
played 4 games and you weren't good. But yeah, a ton of cap space. I think in terms of what we will target, it's more the same from stuff in the draft. I think we'll look to add a weapon in free agency. Ton of
That's-
rumors about Brandon Ayuk
Yeah.
because of the Jaden Daniels Arizona State connection.
Sure.
Now, he doesn't have the best off the field look right now in terms of, it didn't end very well with him in the 49ers. But when he was on the field and healthy, he looked like a difference maker. So maybe you add him, you let Debo go, you bring in Brandon Ayuk. That's kind of the trade-off. They're not the same type of player, but in terms of hopeful impact. Interior offensive lineman would be nice. You lost a couple. You have Sam Cosmi to play one guard spot. Maybe try and find someone else to play the other guard spot. And then defense. That rest of that money needs to go to the defense, or most of the rest of the money, because, JP just read off the stats. It was not a good unit whatsoever. And in a lot of ways, it's just getting older. So it's not even like – I think that's honestly my biggest gripe with this current addition to the front office is we brought in a lot of these young guys from the draft, and we bring in a ton of old guys in free agency, and then we just play almost all the old guys. And maybe we just suck at drafting, which is its own issue in and of itself. But then also sometimes it seems like they talk highly of these young guys, but then we don't see them play. Someone gets hurt, and they just, sign some guy off the street, basically, or bring someone up from the practice squad to take reps. So then it's I guess we're just missing the young guys that y'all are talking highly of actually aren't that good, and we just need to move on. But I really would like to see potentially some of those young guys play. I feel like there needs to be a little bit of a shift in identity from this really old team to getting some youth and speed in the building. Jordan McGee, for example, linebacker we drafted a couple years ago, has popped in the limited snaps he's played. I think he looks really good. The staff talks pretty highly of him, but then he never sees the field. And it's like, all right, well then what do we do with that, right? But yeah, defense has to be overhauled. And that's kind of really where I'll end with the 2026 goal. I think it's to make the playoffs, at least be in firm contention for the playoffs. But even on top of that, clear roster progress, which part of that's health. I'd love a full, healthy Jaden Daniels season. Obviously, what Commanders fan wouldn't? But you just can't look like an abysmal team on both sides of the ball for most of the year again. That's going to get tons of people fired. It's going to lead to a complete reset. I need to see some of the younger guys play. You need to hit on some free agent signings. You've not really drafted great the past couple years. There's been a lot of misses mixed in with a couple hits. You'd love to see the recent class of rookies, like I just said, make a bigger impact in terms of young guys. And you'd love to see you only have 6 draft picks. You don't even have a second-round draft pick. So it's really the first and third and fourth. You need to hit on those guys. You need to see them make early impact. That's where I'm at. What do y'all have on this team?
I think you touched on it very well. Obviously healthy season of Jaden Daniels is kind of a must next year. The Dan Quinn stuff, hot seat, is 100% a talking point, especially if the season kind of goes off the rails as it did this year. The cap space is huge, but as you said, it fills up quickly because you pay a guy, you pay a receiver $15 million, you pay an edge rusher $15 million, you pay that's 4 guys at $15 million each, and that's $60 million right there gone. So that will fill out quickly, and you also have to consider the draft picks are part of cap space as well.
Yeah.
Although you have technically a thing that's called rookie reserve, which is money that you're allocated towards allowing yourself to sign rookies over the cap. But even still, a receiver, a top 10 pick, I think is where he's going to be. Whoever it is 9 to 10 mil, if I'm not mistaken, for his contract that rookie year. Might be a little bit lower than that. Might be 7 or 6 mil. So that money's going to fill out quick, which means you can't have a bunch of nothing burgers. That was a huge talking point with the New England Patriots this year, is did they just give money to people to give money to people? Turns out no. Milton Williams was really good. Robert Spillane had a really good year for them. Carlton Davis has been a great corner for them this year. Stephon Diggs was a massive signing in the offseason. So, money goes quickly. Make sure it's going to the right spot and hitting the right spots. I do agree with you in terms of getting away from being so damn old. If you're going to have such a young quarterback, I think you got to get away from
It
being
made
so
sense.
old
It made
around
sense
them.
last year, in my opinion, because Daniels looked like incredible as a rookie, and you were like, well, we need to go. We don't want to waste time trying to develop more young guys. Let's go get all the old guys we think can play, and then it just didn't work out. But I don't think there's any hindsight where I would be like, oh, that was a poor decision. It made sense.
No, I completely agree because we were literally in the conference championship game. So it was like, okay, we're here now. But it turns out that wasn't really real. So now we need a soft reset, transition to younger. I agree it made sense last year. I mean, if you went back and listened to the preview of the Commanders, I was a little worried about the age, but I wasn't like I hate the moves we made because, once again, I think it made sense. It didn't work out. So, yeah, now let's pivot and not be stubborn, I guess is what I would say to Adam Peters.
Yeah. All right, me or you next, JP, for our team.
Doesn't matter.
I'll go ahead and go next.
Sure.
And I'll go ahead and start off by saying that I think the biggest part of this season is just getting healthy. And I'll get into a lot of other stuff because I don't want to just harp on that. I just want to list Joe Alt missed 12 weeks. Marion Hampton missed 8 weeks. Khalil Mack missed 4 weeks. And Rashawn Slater missed the entire season. That's 2 offensive tackles and an edge rusher, which are 2 of the most important positions in football outside of quarterback that missed a combined 20 weeks in the entire season. 38 weeks combined between the 3 of them. But offensive trenches, that's where I'm looking to address both in the draft and then also maybe a little bit in free agency. I did a couple of mock drafts earlier this morning just to kind of run it out, and I think that it actually sets up pretty well for us to hopefully be able to address both. It is tough in free agency. We're losing Khalil Mack, and then both of our guards are their contracts are up. So there's a possibility that we lose Khalil Mack and 2 interior offensive linemen, but they combined to allow 10 sacks this season, so maybe there's other places we could go to address that. But I'll start with the draft. So in the first round, we picked 22nd overall. We've only got 5 picks, which is not ideal, but we'll take it. We've got our 1st through 4th and then our 6th round, so we're only missing our 5th and our 7th round pick. But at 22nd, that's kind of the range where we might be able to get the first guard off the board. It's the Penn State guard, who I will not attempt to pronounce his name, but he's been very good the last 2 years. He is not allowed a sack in the previous 2 seasons at Penn State.
The IOAV.
Yeah, Ioagni. It's got a G in there. It's got a G in there.
Is it like in with Vega, though?
Maybe.
I think that's literally like he kind of goes by Vega. I could be
Okay.
completely making that
Okay.
up. But
Let's
just
put
in
it
case
into
you
it.
want to re-reference him.
Well, I will refer to
just
him as
Vega.
Vega going forward. He's been a starter at Penn State the last 2 years and hasn't allowed a sack, and that includes matchups against Ohio State, Oregon, and Notre Dame in 2024. And then in 2025, when he also did not allow a sack, he faced up against Oregon, Ohio State, and Indiana. And so that's 3 teams, good defenses, 3 or 5 Big Ten teams, and Notre Dame that put guys in the NFL, and he's not allowing sacks, which I love to see. If we don't get guard, if we do not go get Vega, or if he's already off the board, I would then look to address interior or defensive line. Someone like Caden McDonald from Ohio State for the interior, or if we decide that Khalil Mack and I believe Odefe Owe, who we just traded for, is also his contract ended
Correct.
this year. So if both of them walk, or if we don't extend them, depending on how the edge rush shapes up, Akeem Messidor is also around this 22 range. Only issue with Messidor is he'll be 25 on draft night, so he's an older prospect. And then finally, if for some reason guard goes, I saw a mock draft where the Steelers took Vega, and then if Messidor and McDonald both get taken, I would not hate going best available wide receiver, which would be Disnell Boston or Mekhi Lemon. Now, I assume both of them will be gone, but in this scenario where another team is like, oh, we just really need defensive help, they pass on the wide receiver if they would fall to us. I don't see that happening, which is why I listed out the most likely options of guard or defensive line. But if another team really likes Vega, or they really like some of those defensive linemen and they pass on the wide receivers, I wouldn't hate bringing in like a legitimate wide receiver 1 to keep Ladd in the slot and then kind of substitute in for Quentin Johnston, because he had a good year this year, but not fantastic. And then JP, you said to do first round. I accidentally did 2nd and 3rd round as well. So 2nd and 3rd round, if we don't go wide receiver in the first, Elijah Surratt is a possibility. He's a bigger guy. He's like 6'2", 210, I believe. and has been playing outside wide receiver at Indiana, which I don't hate. McConkey's smaller, he's only 6 foot. But my dream would be Romello Height from Texas Tech. I really like Romello Height. I like him a lot. And if he fell to 55th, that would be awesome. And that'll once again kind of be dependent on where we go in the first round and what we do at edge rusher, extending guys. And then the third round, Jake Slaughter is center 2 on the PFF big board. So a third round center, I would not hate to, provide some more depth in the offensive line, to get a potential starter. Danny Dennis Sutton out of Penn State. It's crazy. I feel like that he's now a third round.
Deny for future.
Thank you,
reference.
Deny. See, I couldn't remember which one it was, and
We
I
just gotta
knew
make sure we're ready for
Deny.
draft night.
Yeah,
Deny.
we'll practice all of our name pronunciations.
We
Especially
gotta
for these
pronounce-
TikToks. If you pronounce
Yeah.
a name wrong in the TikTok, it's
Yeah,
over for
they're-
you.
Gotta pronounce the Vega guy. We're gonna have to get on that one.
Yeah, I tried looking. I've looked it up in the past, and it's really hard to find name pronunciations of college football players. But we'll go find a Penn State beat writer on Twitter and DM them and be like, hey, look.
Help us, please.
Yeah.
There are names you'll see names that are crazy. And you think no way I'll ever pronounce that. Like when I first
Imaliava.
listened, how did he pronounces his last name?
Antetokounmpo.
I was like, no way. Antetokounmpo or however you want. Antetokounmpo, however you want to pronounce it, was pronounced 20 different ways for 5 years.
Yeah.
There's still kind of 2 different ways to say it. depending on how you wanna
Ungulale.
yeah,
Uyunglele.
emphasize it.
Yeah,
Who,
so
by the way,
we'll
is
get
on the
it down.
Chargers. So crazy. And with
That is crazy.
who is it? It's the North Dakota State guy.
Trey Lance.
Thank you, Trey Lance. His contract is up, and so DJ Uyunglele might be the backup going forward. We'll see. I doubt it, but Deny Dennis Sutton, would not hate that. Jacob Rodriguez is also sitting ranked around here, which I think would be like. I don't get how you have the kind of season he had and still be in the third round pick or the third round draft or in the third round
They're
range.
playing in a farmers league essentially.
I
It's
guess,
like
I
playing
guess.
in League One.
But I
as
really
PSG.
think that if he has a good combine, you have to look at that kind of statistical
for sure.
season that he had, and he could very quickly climb up out of the third round. And then Mikhail Kamara is also here in the third round as a possible draft pick. And I just threw him in there because, it's just such a cool story of his going from JMU to Indiana, winning the championship, going back this year and winning the championship. So would love to have him. But that's kind of where I'm looking to go in the draft, is trenches primarily. And then potential wide receiver. I didn't look into secondary, and then, like I said, maybe a linebacker. Free agency, couple big contracts that will be ending. The first of those is Khalil Mack. I would love to bring Khalil Mack back. He dealt with injury this year, which led to his second lowest production. He only had 6 sacks, which is tied for second lowest of his career. But I think there's still a place for him. Other places, hold up, I'm pulling up the other guys that we have. Like I said,
Jerry Tart, Keenan Allen,
yes,
Denzel Perryman, obviously the guy you traded for, Odafe Owe,
yep,
Tony Jefferson, who started. You've got all 3 of your running backs that aren't the first-round pick, Amari and Hampton, and Kamani Vidal, who's a restricted free agent, but
Yep.
Hassan Haskins and Najee Harris coming off his Achilles injury.
yeah.
Rip Najee Harris.
Also, like I said earlier, both guards would be due up for it. Their contracts are both up. They allowed 10 sacks, 5 each this season, which is not great from guard. But maybe if you get the tackles back, they're both young. I believe this is both of their first contracts. And so, yeah, that's right. They both got 3 years of experience. They're both 26, so that this should be both of their first contracts. If you think that they're really good and that they just kind of suffered, because offensive line is one of those things where if you've got weaknesses, it damages everybody. And so if you think that having your second or third string tackles out there hurt them, and you think that having the starters out there, they could really kind of thrive in that situation, I wouldn't hate bringing them back. I will say both of Cleveland's offensive guards are both due up. They're both going into free agency this season. They're both in their 30s. They've both been at Cleveland for 6+ years. I think one of them's been there for over 10 years. He's been his whole career there. I don't know if they're in love with Cleveland, and so that's why they're staying. But at this point, for one of them, it'll be rebuild 3, and for the other one, it's rebuild number 2, I guess. So maybe they're interested in going somewhere and trying to win.
Yeah, Wyatt Teller and
Yes.
Joel Petonio.
Yes.
The 2 you're talking about, they were part of Baker's really
Exactly. Well,
dynamic
Petonio,
offensive
I
line.
believe, has been there since 2014 or
Yeah.
2012. So he's been around.
Go win with the Los Angeles Chargers.
That's something coming out L.A. It's a little bit warmer, sunnier than Cleveland, Ohio.
Perfect timing.
Yep.
So guard, I would either extend the guys we've got or go out and get somebody in free agency because there are some great options. Odafe Owe, I'm gonna go ahead and give a spoiler for I think JP suggested what was it the best player that nobody knows their name.
Yeah.
He's a guy who I didn't know his name until we traded for him, and even then I feel like he gets overshadowed because we have Khalil Mack on the team, who's a huge name in NFL pass rushers. He had 11 sacks from weeks 7 until the wild card. I mean, he had a ridiculous.
I would have mentioned him and Tuli Peloto.
Peloto, yeah. But we trade for him week 6 to the wild card. He starts one game, and then the rest of the games he just comes in off the bench and totals 11 sacks. I mean, it was just a ridiculous season after 0 through his first 5 weeks in Baltimore.
I got bad news for you, Sanders.
What?
That's a commander.
Odafe Owe?
Yeah. So
Oh,
unlucky.
okay. Well,
That's tough. Hate to
does
hear
suck.
that.
I also would have said Tareeb Still.
Yeah.
I thought he had a great year.
So he's a guy who I would really love to extend because he's also younger. I don't think he is as old as Khalil Mack. So that's someone who, let's see, where is he down here? There he is. He's only 27, 4 years of experience. So would love to extend him and bring him back. And that could be where maybe you bring him back, let Khalil Mack walk, and you go draft a guy to play across from him in the first or second round. Other stuff, we have a ton of cap space. We've got the third most cap space. I think it's like 60, or it might also be 70 million.
It's gonna be more
It's
because
80 million.
close to
Is it
70
80?
and y'all are y'all
80.
more.
Well,
Yes,
that's
but
what I get for not writing it down and
the
just
site
saying
that I
it's
use.
the third most. Is that over the cap?
Yeah.
Yeah, 80 million then. I just wrote down third most instead of the number, which is huge. But like you said, that can guys get expensive. Edge rushers are expensive. Offensive linemen are expensive. If we decided not to draft a wide receiver, but we think we need somebody, maybe we trade for A.J. Brown if the Eagles are trying to move him off. I think would be a good landing spot for him because the Eagles will obviously try and keep him out of the NFC, especially the NFC East. So AFC team would make sense. He would be expensive. So that'll be something to kind of keep track of is how do we run through that money because we have a lot of it. Coaching, we fired our offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, and right now the Mike McDaniel, not McDaniels, no S, is kind of the leading candidate.
Yeah.
But I think it seems like he's made it clear that if he doesn't find the head coaching job he wants, then we're like the coordinator job he's going to take. Now, I think he's still in talks with a couple of head coaching situations, but I do think that I was listening to a podcast today, and they were saying that like there are at least one, if not maybe several head coaching jobs that I would pass up on that to go be the coordinator at Los Angeles, like the Raiders job. Like, because if you go be the coordinator at Los Angeles for a year or two, you can get a better head coaching job in 2027, 2028. So that'll be something to kind of monitor is how Mike McDaniel approaches his offseason, where he lands. Jesse Minter, our defensive coordinator, is the lead candidate for the Ravens job right now.
He's gone.
Yeah, so that's really tough, but we've got a lot of pieces, so I'll be interested to see how we handle that. The weird thing about NFL coaching, and I'm not a huge fan, is once you get a job, you're always going to have a job. It's very odd. It doesn't matter how bad you are at it, you're going to get another chance. It's just very, I don't know. You don't hear a whole lot of new names.
You can only really take yourself out of head coaching consideration and turn yourself into just a coordinator. Like,
and even then,
I think
you've got guys who've been atrocious head coaches who are now getting their second stint of being a head
they'll
coach.
get interviews and they might get a second stint, but eventually it'll be just
Think
coordinator. Like,
Dennis
I think
Allen
of,
gets another swing at it somewhere.
Yes, he's going to get another swing at it.
I wish pity on those teams.
No, I mean, you talk about like the teams who interviewed not Jason Garrett, the old Cowboys coach, and Titans fans are like, please no, anything but this. It's like it's kind of funny. Once you get in, you're just kind of always in the system, and you're always going to get interviews and chances. I don't know what we're going to do about DC, but I'll be interested to see that going forward. That's kind of everything. Team MVP, it's Justin Herbert.
Herbo.
I know that's very basic. I know it's very basic, but he legitimately carried this team on his back into the playoffs. And I don't know how you could watch the games and not see him like working with an awful offensive line to get to 11 wins.
I don't know. Statistically, y'all had the 9th best points per game defense in the NFL and the 5th best yards per game defense in the NFL. But
Maybe get Derwin James some love.
I
Team
love Derwin
MVP.
James. Love Derwin James. But
Pro Reference agrees that's your AV leader of the year, which is essentially their
Is
stat
War.
for WAR.
Is Herbert?
Herbert
Yeah.
was.
Who was second?
I don't know. I guess I could look
um,
somehow.
If you can't, I don't know. Then don't worry about it. I was just curious.
is it I don't know. That's gonna be I feel like we don't have any other great players at like the key. Maybe
I
it might
guess
be Owe.
Tuli Peloto. He had 13 sacks this year.
Okay,
Shout out Tui.
Tuli. All right.
Tuli,
That's all
sorry.
I've got for the Chargers.
What do you want for
Oh,
next year?
What I want for next year? Playoff win. You
Oh,
have
wow.
have to win a
Wow.
playoff game. Have got to win a playoff
Well,
game.
I got a suggestion for that then.
Oh boy.
Maybe consider Ty Simpson.
Oh my gosh. I
With
thought you were
your
gonna say
first-round
DJ
pick.
Uyunglele.
Given
I don't
his
know. Blake
playoff
Shapen might
success.
be a good 7th round flyer. With a good
Shapen
offensive
has
line,
0.
with a good
Actually-
offensive line, Blake Shapen.
If you count conference championships as postseason, he has 1
More than
Maybe.
Herbert.
Big
Yeah.
12 championship. Yes, this is true. So maybe that is in consideration. He will be in the.
Do we count bowl games as postseason wins?
I don't think you
Depends on
can
the
with
bowl
the amount.
game.
I mean, I think he won the Red Box Bowl like 10-3 one year.
I would count like the Pop-Tart Bowl.
Not the Red Box Bowl then.
No.
Well, I will not. We will not be taking a quarterback. Maybe a nice 7th round draft pick on. Maybe that's how we address backup, is we draft a guy. That's not uncommon, but
There
mean,
is
they-
no QB to take in the 7th round because no one declared because everyone just
is
get
it-
money back. in
No,
school.
there definitely is. There
I mean,
definitely is.
You have Blake Shapen. You have Morton from Texas Tech as a potential option. You have Mark Gronowski from Iowa as a potential option.
Dyer.
By the way, Blake Shapen's average draft
Is that
position.
Tyler Van Dyke? I see.
It is.
Wow.
Shapen's average draft position on PFF Mock Draft Simulator right now is 71.
No way.
So people are joshing and picking him in the first 2 rounds, apparently. So
A lot of people too, because there's a lot of.
Holy
I
crap.
saw.
People love them some Blake Shapen.
So like, there's. I mean, for him to be drafted that high on average, so PFF started this new thing called like mock draft leaderboards, and so you can see how many teams have had mock drafts done for them. The Dallas Cowboys have had 36,000 mock drafts in the last 7 days. And so for
they got 2 first-round picks. We'll
for
talk
Blake
about that in a
Shapen to
second.
be averaging in the 70s, that means that thousands of people are like, yeah, this is the guy taking the top 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Which that just seems ridiculous. I don't know. Maybe you sell yourself on behind a good offensive line, he can make throws.
This is true.
Are those really? Hold up, I'm pulling up the quarterbacks.
There's
now.
a ton of them have stupid ones. Like Tyler Van Dyke had 50.
I mean, Diego Pavia is a 5th or 6th round
Zach
pick.
Calzada,
Sawyer Robertson.
52.5.
Sawyer Robertson is player 204 on the PFF big board. So I mean, you're looking at like a pick in the 6th round.
A lot of Mississippi State guys here. I'm not
But the-
seeing a lot of Aggies
I'm just
besides Zach Calzada.
gig him.
Joe Fagnano, I think he was the touchdown interception leader in FBS, or he was up there. He had a fantastic ratio.
I'm just saying, like, it used to be the guy who taken the 7th round was, I don't know, say Brock Purdy, who he was a 3-4 year starter at Iowa State, and now you're looking at taking potentially Tyler Van Dyke, who didn't even start for his team anymore.
I mean,
or
but
Blake Shapen,
you
who got
might
benched halfway through the season.
Miller Moss, Baron Morton.
Tommy Stevens was a 7th round pick for the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, because Thomas Stevens was a dog.
Crazy.
Anyway, playoff win is the expectation for next year. Justin Herbert MVP. No, I'm kidding. That'd be crazy. I would love that. That'd be sick. But no, it's not an expectation.
I mean, that he honestly may have a higher chance of winning MVP than winning a playoff game, if you really think about it.
This is true. Kind of undeniably
I mean,
true.
based on what we've seen from his postseason performances compared to his regular season performances.
Yeah.
The non-joking first-round pick I was going to suggest was marrying his guy with your team, Casey Concepcion.
I thought about bringing that up.
Yeah.
Dynamic speed threat, which is something you don't have at receiver at least.
Yeah.
He we'll say he's not the most natural catcher of the football.
Yeah. I will also say
there's some body catch in his game, which could give you some Quentin Johnson PTSD.
I don't know if it's normally like this, but I feel like the wide receiver free agency market this year is not good.
It's just George Pickens if
Yeah.
they don't re-sign him.
I mean, C. Kirk just
don't
kind of
even-
low key
I don't even-
had a pretty good playoff stint
He
now
did.
that he's healthy.
Juwan Jennings is a potential option.
Oh, there's
which-
George Pickens. They
which
had
makes
George
sense.
Pickens cheap.
Well, yeah, because he's on that rookie deal still, 4th year of it. But it is like
Alec
the veterans and like Mike Evans and Keenan Allen and Debo Samuel and C. Kirk, or it's the younger guys like Rashid Shaheed and George Pickens if he were to not be re-signed.
Alec Pierce is going to get some good money.
I think he'll
Uh-huh.
re-sign
The
in
Hunter
Indy.
Renfro.
He probably will resign. Josh Reynolds, Aggie legend.
Yeah.
Gig'em led
He
the
does
SEC
not
in
fit
receiving.
into the younger
No, he did
guys
not.
category. Okay.
He's played in a Super Bowl though.
Malik Heath will be a free
Yeah.
agent this year. Fun fact about him, he's never won an Egg Bowl.
Yep.
That's a pretty good fun fact. Shall we move on to Who Dat Nation?
Yeah, let's do
the
it.
New Orleans Saints, JP. Tell us about your New Orleans Saints and their offseason.
All right, well, I'll start with coaching changes. We finished 6-11 last year. Spencer Out was 1-7, and then Tyler Shuck was 5-4. But our worst problem was not quarterback or offense or defense. It was special teams. And so we're going to have to fire or change the personnel, one of the two, or both. I'm fine with both. Kicking was awful this year with Blake Grupe. He missed 8 kicks in 11 games that he started for the New Orleans Saints. He then goes to the Indianapolis Colts, did not miss a field goal the rest of the year, but did not win a game the rest of the year. So suck on that, Blake Grupe. Charlie Smythe ended up replacing Blake Grupe at around the second half of the year. Smythe was 12 for 16. His 4 misses were all 40+. For reference, like Brandon Aubrey, best kicker in the National Football League, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. He missed 6 field goals, were all 50+ this year. That was the only field goals he missed. So it's not – the kickers are getting really good kicking from deep, but they're not going to be perfectly accurate. So you do have to kind of take that into perspective when you think about kicking. It's the big ones is like not missing 30-yarders and 40-yarders. Punting was really bad too. Kai Kroger had the 4th worst yards per punt this season. He had the 29th longest punt of the year out of punters. Like if you took a punter and their longest punt and just ranked it, and then you did the next punter, he had the 29th longest punt of punters. So he probably had like the 120th longest punt this year. That was his best punt of the year. The team also led the league in punts blocked this year with 3. So either fire our head coach, not our head coach, Kellamore, please stay, but special teams coordinator, Coach Phil, which I'm not going to pronounce his last name because I'll butcher it, or change the kicker and punter again going into next year. Those are 2, that's coaching change that really needs to be made. Brandon Staley was excellent as defensive coordinator, and Kellamore, I thought, had a really good second half of the year as the head coach. In terms of who to draft, Saints will have the 8th overall pick. We're also going to have a 2nd rounder as well as a 3rd rounder and 2 4th rounders. You're supposed to get a comp pick. No 3rd rounder. 1st, 2nd, 2 4ths. It feels like you can go best available with the amount of offensive players that are available in this year's draft. I'm speaking specifically of like the 2nd round and then even into the 4th rounds. What's kind of a non-negotiable is drafting at least 2 skill position guys in this draft for Tyler Shuck, because you think about the skill position guys he was trying to throw to in a must-win. It would have been for the division had we won one more game. I'm talking to you, Spencer Rattler, and he was throwing to Mason Tipton and Dante Pettis and or Kevin Austin Jr. Those are his receivers because Olave was out. Shaheed was traded. And there are a lot of weapons that are like skill position guys that are right there at the top in terms of Jeremiah Love, Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, but also in the 2nd round are Elijah Surratt, who Sanders mentioned earlier, or Chris Bell from Louisville. All of those I'm completely fine with. Is there someone you guys would like to see New Orleans pick at 8?
I mean, it sounds like you need to pick a kicker at 8 to really fix those woes. But no, I think it's offensive guys, and you're in a decent spot to. No guarantees, obviously, but there's a chance you get to take the first skill position guy off the board at 8.
Yeah.
And so you just kind of get your pick, which is a pretty sick spot to be. That's where I would go, unless I guess for some reason crazy things happen and like there's already been a run and there's not one there, and then you pivot to maybe like which if there's a run on those guys, it means one of the defensive top tier guys have fallen to you. So
Yeah,
you
like a
take
Caleb
that guy.
Downs or Reuben Bain.
But I think it's most likely that you're just there to take Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson, one of those two guys at 8.
Draft
Jeremiah Love.
Carnell Tate or draft Jeremiah Love. I'm okay. I would love
Jeremiah
either of those
Love
two.
instead of kind of stepping in to take the Alvin Kamara role.
You know who our leading rusher was this year?
Devin Neal.
Alvin Kamara.
Okay, still
Really?
with Alvin
You know how many
Kamara.
rushing yards Alvin Kamara had?
211.
He had 411.
Wow.
We had
That's crazy.
4 or 5 other guys with like 200 yards. Tyler Shuck had almost 200 yards himself. Devin Neal, 7th round pick out of Kansas, had 201 or give or take. So running back was definitely an issue, and that would, like Jeremiah Love, I'd love, or Carnell Tate. I'm great with either of those picks personally in the first round at pick 8. Obviously, no offensive line, please.
That's crazy. You want your quarterback getting hit all the time.
He's already got a
It's
perennial
covered.
left tackle in Kelvin Banks, who in a lot of
You were mad about taking.
well, yes, who wouldn't be when Shador Sanders was on the board. In redrafts, Kelvin Banks has gone like pick 1, 2, and 3 by a lot of experts in the NFL field. So
Well, who would you rather have right
hate
now?
that.
Shador Sanders and no Kelvin Banks, or Kelvin Banks and Tyler Shuck?
Kelvin Banks and Tyler Shuck.
All right.
And
It worked out.
hindsight is 2020. The Saints
It
are
wasn't even hindsight. That was a good pick on draft night.
There was some debate.
okay. Foresight is 2020. I think is more so what I'm getting at in terms of I've now seen Kelvin Banks and Tyler
Sure.
Shuck, and I've seen Shador. So Saints are $20 million in the negative in terms of cap, but you got Cameron Jordan, DeMario Davis, who could both retire, but they both had good years, which means you both could re-sign them, which will help because they're right now in void years. This will be the final year of the Saints cap BS that is prolonged for a decade now. Next year we're gonna have roughly like $80 million in cap room right now, so maybe 60 to 40 million we're looking at next year. So restructuring Cameron Jordan, DeMario Davis if they want to return, or they can retire, and we're back into chilling cap. I think you got to hope to try to restructure one of those two, if not both. But Julian Blackmon was already re-signed to an extension. He came over from Indianapolis as a free agent when the Honey Badger retired at the beginning of the year, and then he played 3 games and got hurt and did not play the rest of the year. Taysom Hill is likely to retire, which will help our cap a ton. Our biggest free agent is Alontae Taylor, a slot corner who's had a hit or miss, hot and cold, ups and downs. All of those analogies are great ways to describe his play. Over the last 4 years with New Orleans, he's had some of the games that I've watched him play. It was like, yeah, that guy could cover anybody. And then there are other games where he commits a pass interference in the fourth quarter and gives them a free first down 40 yards down the field and ends up losing us the game. So it will be unlikely he returns, and he's expected a high number in free agency. Personally, I hope he signs with Kansas City because that'll hinder Kansas City. In terms of free agency wants and needs, depth pieces is really all you can do with the cap space. Like New Orleans doesn't have the cap space that the Chargers and Washington have, so that's not really a consideration to really even think about. So depth pieces, kicker and punter are 2 things to definitely look at if you're not going to draft one of those 2.
You could just take the me and Jack approach in college football, where we just never recruit kicker and punter, and they just give you like the kid off the street.
I always recruit one. I've never done that.
I mean, we literally have we just
We don't always.
You can also go to the portal and
Yeah.
get a guy very easily.
Yeah, I'm just saying that if you don't recruit them, they literally will just give you one.
But
they just put one on your
it's
roster.
like a 50 overall.
No, he's not good. But when you don't punt, it doesn't matter.
When you don't punt, that's fair.
You got a punt in the National Football League.
That is true. Not in Madden.
I will say you do randomly just find that guy off the street in the NFL that ends up just being
a better kicker, a punter.
very good.
Yeah.
So
Brandon Aubrey came from the UFL.
would you welcome a hot rod in New Orleans?
Yeah, we would welcome Rodrigo.
Okay, cool.
He's going to be kicking in the UFL this year, so maybe he puts together a good campaign and gets a job like Brandon Aubrey did.
Sure.
The early realistic goal of next year, and I laugh when I say this because this has already been a hot topic on this show and this show's history. We're winning the division next year.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
And I don't think that's unrealistic anymore for much of the public to think that. We're going to be the fourth odds-on favorite. I'll go ahead and guarantee that, and I'll be putting money on it. I'll go ahead and guarantee that as well. But we were 2 games away from winning the division this year, and we started Spencer Rattler for 8 games, and he was 1-7. The defense was excellent down the stretch. They were a top 10 defense the last month and a half of the year. Shuck helped Olave make an all-pro team. Every key piece is going to return. Obviously our young guys, and then even defensively as well. I would assume another instant impact out of our top 10 pick. I'd hope at least, whether it's Carnell Tate or Jeremiah Love, or one of the defenders. Last year, Kelvin Banks was elite. Now he can, get a playmaker for Tyler Shuck. He's got a left tackle and a playmaker to go along with Olave. And then you look at the division. The Falcons have a new head coach in Stefanski and no quarterback, and they're the Falcons. The Panthers are playing a first-place schedule, and they're the Panthers, meaning they're not good anyway. They won the division with 8 wins. The Bucs lost 8 of their last 9 games, and they're not getting any younger. You have Mike Evans, who's in free agency. You have in New Orleans, you have a fourth-place schedule. You have a good quarterback. You have a good head coach calling plays. Brandon Staley had a good defense the last month and a half of the season. Win the division, 4th to 1st. I don't think it's unmanageable. And you look at our schedule next year, 8 wins won the division this year. We're going to play Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Las Vegas, and Arizona. That's 4 wins already. Tyler Shuck doesn't lose to the Carolina Panthers. That's 6 wins. He splits the season series with Atlanta and Tampa Bay. That's 8 wins. We've already won the division. So
I like the logic.
It's very realistic. I will be betting on it as early as I can. And wow, Derpy is breaking news live on air. That was 5 minutes ago, but we'll get to that here in a second. I think early realistic goal is to win the division. I will be picking them, obviously. If y'all had to pick right now, who are you guys picking to win the NFC South next year? And you don't have to pick the Saints to appease me.
Right now,
Yeah.
probably the Saints, but I wouldn't be surprised if after the offseason it's the Bucs again.
I'm probably picking Tampa Bay.
I just need to know what they're going to do.
I think it's a good goal for the Saints, but realistically,
attainable.
and I think you would agree with this, the Saints are still a year away from true contention.
I disagree.
From you're telling me you not only your goal is to win the division, but be a legit player in the playoffs.
Why can't we?
Because the team, you say it improved a ton down the stretch, and it did. But there's not tons of additions to be made yet. You have no cap space.
New England won 4 games last year.
You still are pretty old.
Chicago won 5 games last year.
And they made
Divisional, NFC Championship, Super Bowl aspirations.
They made big-time moves that you can't make.
We can in the top 10 picks.
One guy.
Yeah.
Will Campbell didn't make a huge difference.
I disagree.
He's been pretty bad in the playoffs, at least so far this year. And Drake
those
is
short
the
arms,
most sacked
man.
quarterback
Those
this
short
year.
arms.
So
Man. Well, that's because he likes to. What did he say again? What was his quote?
go for the. You know me, I like to go for the shot or something.
Yeah, he likes to go for the shot, and he takes a lot of shots by going for the shot.
I think it's very potentially attainable. But that's already kind of been shown over the last few years. Joe Burrow in year 2 after a terrible season was in the Super Bowl.
JP's the kind of fan who sees what Kirsty Knight did at Indiana and says, "Well, if he did it, we should all do it."
No, I'm just giving. I just gave 3 NFL examples right there of teams that won playoff games and are Super Bowl aspirations. New England still could win the Super Bowl, and that's just 3 teams. You know, rookie Jaden Daniels was in the AFC Championship. It is
An example
it's
of how it
completely
can flip the other way on you.
It's very possible for franchises that aren't dealing with just hard wreck year after year. Like I'm not gonna say that about the Raiders next year, more than likely, with Fernando Mendoza, a new head coach. No one's gonna say that about the Jets, or the Arizona Cardinals, or Tennessee, or Cleveland. But of these other teams, if you get the guy, like I don't think there's any reason to not say that they can't be in some kind of contention next year. Personally, like a hot pick next year, I'll go ahead and guarantee it, is the New York Giants as a team that can win that division and be competitive in the postseason, because now they got the head coach and the quarterback. Got the quarterback.
Yeah, great quarterback.
I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility, because we've just seen it.
I mean, it's not
over
out of the
past
realm of
5
possibility.
years.
I just don't think it's very likely,
Okay.
which we'll have to agree to disagree. Winning the division, sure, be a player. We also saw that winning the division this year did not lead to any team being a real player in the playoffs. I mean, we all kind of memed about the Panthers making the playoffs, and they put up a fight, so maybe they were a player. But that's just kind of where I'm at.
They were a play away, a Puka Nacua breakup away from winning
Yeah.
that game. In terms of this season, MVP of the team this year was Chris Olave. He had 100 catches for 1,163 yards and 9 touchdowns. He was second team All-Pro. An incredible turnaround to go from he considered retirement coming into this year to an All-Pro receiver, and he can't wait to get back with Tyler Shuck this offseason, almost going as far as to say, I can't wait to get to work with Tyler Shuck this summer, hinting at the fact that he did not work with his prior quarterbacks in the offseason, which is kind of sucky to see, but it's also great that he's at least going to do that this year. And then I got, for players that played really well and no one knows their name, my top player is someone you know his name, but you only know his name because he's got a name, and that is Kool-Aid McKinstry. You only know his name because he's got a sick name.
Yeah.
This year he was tied 6th in the NFL in pass deflections. He had 3 picks, which is third for corner. He was third for corners and solo tackles with 59, and he was a top 30 corner per PFF. So he had a really incredible year, and he was our best corner on the outside. Hope he continues to develop, though. He's not the AV winner per per reference. Would you guys like to guess who the AV winner was for this year? And I'll go ahead and hint at the fact that the winner of it would fit this category of played really well and no one knows their name. Because no one knows their name.
No idea then.
Yeah, just toss it out there.
Pete Werner. Do you know his name?
No.
No.
Okay, well, he's our outside linebacker, and he won AV this year.
Shout out Pete Warner.
Go look at his stats. I don't know how that got into the calculation. He was 6th on the team in tackles. He was like 7th on the team in sacks. He was 6th on the team in pass deflections. The only stat he led the team in was fumble recoveries with 3. But he didn't return
right
any
place
of
at
them
the
for
right
a
time.
touchdown.
Maybe it weighs
Right.
Maybe it weighs fumble recoveries really heavily.
They need to get that out of their
Tweak
calculations.
it a little bit, sure.
Because I don't know how he won AV this year. Although he did get to play in all 16 games, which he hadn't done so far in his career.
17. Did he play
17 games.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
You good.
Yeah, he somehow won our AV, which is going to be insane to look back on a decade from now, 2 decades from now.
Or you look back.
Pete Werner had a great year.
How
that
old
year.
is he? Young.
Yeah, he's like 26.
Yeah. So maybe in 10 years, you look back. Yeah, Pete Warner's breakout season.
He's a fine player.
Maybe
but
not.
I don't
He might be better.
know if he was our best player
Yeah.
this year.
Best, maybe a stretch.
He might be y'all's Bobby Wagner going forward.
Shout out Pete
I'll
Warner.
take it.
All right, let's move on to the next team.
Yes, sir.
Who?
I'll go next. I mean, we can just kind of go in the same
So
order.
Bills. There you go.
Let's get on to the Bills offseason primer. And I'll just kick it right off with they lost last week in the divisional round to the Broncos on the road. And Sean McDermott's now out of the building. So that's like step number 1 is who's going to be the head coach. Any leans from y'all? I saw Brian Daboll floated around, which would be kind of crazy. He was literally just fired, but you have the Josh Allen connection. And then the second question I have for y'all is how attractive in light of this past week is this head coaching job? Because you have the whole thing of like, the owner maybe is a little suspect and the GM is a little suspect, but this is my personal opinion of, but BUT all in caps. Obviously, it's that big of a but. Josh Allen gets to be my quarterback, and so I think that just kind of overrides potentially all other worry about the shakiness of the front office.
I think you just stole my answer. I completely agree with you there. I really do not care about the front office, because you get a quarterback in his prime still. He's probably got 3 to 4 years of his prime still, and he's arguably the best quarterback in the National Football League. So I don't think that in the Baltimore job, these are just jobs you don't pass up if they're offered to you.
Yeah,
they become really, really hot commodities because I get it. They had the GM, who's now the president, and the owner had a bad press conference this week. It's not like Buffalo's been a terrible organization for a decade. They've been a really good organization for a decade. They've been in the playoffs every single year for a decade, or for 8 years, I should say, with Josh Allen, or the year before Josh Allen. So they're going to be consistent. They've got the quarterback that can lead them to the postseason, and you'll get into their offseason here in a second. They got a lot of good potential things to look forward to. So I would take this job right now if it were offered to me.
Would you agree that Josh Allen kind of just overrides any other qualms, both about the front office, but also once again, I'll get into it in a minute. -$7 million in cap space.
Yeah, I think and I also think that there's another thing to take into consideration is that the GM he's not atrocious at his job, because there was that stat that circulated that since drafting Josh Allen, they've drafted 2 All-Stars, 2 All-Pro. Thank you, not All-Stars, not the NBA. But if you also look at that, they have a lot of really good starters, not All-Pro guys, but a lot of really good starters. And guys that they drafted the 3rd and 5th round. So they missed on some first-round picks, and they look like they missed on Keon Coleman, but they've hit on a lot of guys as well.
Yeah, they've got great. Gregory Rousseau was a first-round pick, and he's become one of the best edge rushers in football. And he had another really good year this year, where he had 7 sacks. But you have guys like Cole Bishop, who's a really consistent starter for them. On the offensive line, you have a guy like Spencer Brown, Matt Milano, Terrell Bernard, who was hurt. Khalil Shakir has been a weapon for them, and he was a draft pick.
Dalton Kincaid was a first-round pick who's been good.
Mm-hmm. This is not Dalton. Yeah, Dalton Kincaid, exactly.
James Cook
Their
was a second-round
pick
pick
this year didn't get to play. He played 11 games this year, Maxwell Hairston, and you're also without Ed Oliver, who was a pick, again, by them, who only played 3 games this year as well. So it is I also agree with you there, and I think I talked about this on Tuesday, that they haven't missed on everything.
They definitely haven't missed on everything. And it's not been a good week of PR, but I think it's fair to say he's not horrible at his job. The lack of accountability is just maybe a red flag that optically looks worse than it is in practice. Because like y'all just said, if he just kind of hits in general, who cares if he doesn't take accountability for his misses, because he's going to hit more than he misses, right? With that being said, we can kind of move on. I don't know who the head coach is going to be. We'll find out eventually. They're going to get a good candidate, though, because of Josh Allen. In terms of their draft, they have 7 picks. They draft 26th, 27th overall, something like that, 25th overall.
26th
overall. In terms of their first-round draft pick, I love to see a potential swing at a wide receiver. Keon Coleman has not worked out, and then they also just threw him under the bus, so I would not be surprised if he's gone in the offseason.
Yeah.
They brought in Joshua Palmer last offseason. He was banged up. He didn't necessarily, when he played, though, didn't really look like he was the move they hoped he would be. Khalil Shakir has been very good, but he's not the guy you really want to be wide receiver 1. You'd love to find ways to get Josh Allen help. The backfield set with James Cook. You've already paid him. The tight ends are pretty set with Kincaid and Knox. You don't really need to add there. So I would love to see wide receiver taken. If not, the defensive line help. You mentioned Greg Rousseau. He's fantastic. Maybe an edge rusher on the other side, though, to complement him.
Yeah, play across. Because Joey Bosa, I believe, his contract is up.
He is a free agent. Yeah.
Yep, he's a free agent. Or even shore up the inside with Ed Oliver if you want to do that, or maybe take a linebacker. But I just think you're not fantastic against the run. You're 26 in sacks per game last season. So finding a way to shore up that unit, because I actually I don't hate the secondary. I just think they're pretty banged up. I'm still high on Maxwell Hairston. Cole Bishop, I'll just throw it out there right now. He was my 2025, like, unsung because I really like him. And he's not unsung in the way of Mr. Pete Warner. But in a team that is really all about their stars, he's kind of the name I threw out there as, like, I thought he had a very good year, too.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of draft, I'd love for them to go wide receiver. But where were y'all at?
I was thinking, so George Pickens. I will be. We're gonna talk about the Cowboys here in a second.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be really hard for them to maybe get the room. Although they should prioritize him, but I would, if I'm Buffalo, if he becomes a free agent, I move, heaven and earth.
You move mountains to get him.
Yes, to get George Pickens.
Sure.
And his youth at 24, it'd be the perfect receiver for the last 4 years of Josh Allen's prime to have paired with him, and I don't care really what the price is. He's something that they've not really had a ton of there in terms of big physical guys who can go up and catch the 50-50 ball. Because Stephon Diggs was more of a slot guy anyway, and he's also got the explosiveness. He had an incredible year this year, so at George Pickens, if I can somehow get that, but I do like potentially drafting receiver in that first round, and try. I think you have to add some kind of receiver
Yeah, even if it's not first round, second round swing, you got to try something. Completely agree.
because I think they're going to get rid of Keon Coleman. He just can't be on the roster after what you did to him earlier this week.
Yeah.
So receiver help is, I think, a must for me personally.
Sanders, you agree? Would you go defense or would you go defense?
We'll probably go wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I'd go wide receiver.
yeah, I think that's fair.
It is tough because this is like Casey Concepcion area, and I don't know if I want him I don't know if I want him to be like my guy at the NFL level.
I think a lot of it for them depends on how much you like Denzel Boston as a late
Yeah.
first round guy because
Yeah.
he's a bit more of a big body wide receiver. Will play outside. Will be what Keon Coleman was supposed to be for you.
Yeah.
That didn't work out. You maybe look at someone like him because Casey. I love Casey, but he maybe isn't necessarily. Yeah, he maybe works more inside like a Khalil Shakir type beat.
Yeah.
They have been known to go pretty heavy defense, though, in their drafts. So maybe they continue that trend. Or maybe they go wide receiver here, and then it's like almost defense the rest of the way. In terms of cap space, talking about George Pickens, it would be very hard for them to get George Pickens. They don't really have good cap space. They can also there's always ways to get creative in terms of restructuring contracts, cutting guys to create some cap space. But even a lot of their higher paid guys are under contract for a couple more years at least. I'm talking about their offensive tackles, which obviously, like, you're also just not going to get rid of one of your offensive tackles to try and get George Pickens. James Cook is under contract. He's been good. Dawson Knox, I think, is technically on the last year of his deal upcoming. So, like, if for some reason you're like, we'll just roll with Kincaid and then maybe a cheaper option for second tight end, you could get rid of him to try and create cap space. But realistically, in the offseason, like your Saints, it's going to be mainly just depth piece signings. George Pickens would be sick here, though. I didn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
So cap space-wise, not great. Try and just find some depth piece, maybe once in D-line or even in the secondary, because it has been a pretty beat-up unit that could use some depth. What are y'all looking for in free agency? Or are you just hoping to make the swing?
Receivers, of course, big talked about. I'm looking at maybe trading like Dawson Knox.
Really?
And not, you probably have to wait towards closer to the season to do so because you already have Kincaid there. Trading him can free up roughly $11 million out of his $17 million number. And so I think that can help them there. I know he's been with Buffalo for a long time, but, Josh has got Kincaid, and Kincaid had an excellent year this year when he was healthy. So trading a guy like Dawson Knox and you could even trade him early because I'm pretty sure you can save 8 to 9 of the 17 anyway. So that's another way to get towards George Pickens. But I do think receiver is kind of a must, and then I would go after similar to what they've kind of consistently been doing is those aging veteran guys on cheap contracts. They brought back Jordan Poyer this year, Shaq Thompson, who had dealt with injury concerns a ton and then came and played for them this year. Joey Bosa was one of those options this year. I think you have to go after similar kind of
Agreed.
guys that'll take a cheaper deal to play with Josh Allen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a chance to get a guy a Super Bowl if he's in the twilight of his career, and that's always all he's looking for. I agree.
Travis Kelce.
That would be insane.
Why would he?
wouldn't
Yeah,
leave.
about to say. I mean, he's got a better chance of winning a Super Bowl with the Chiefs than he does with
He is
Buffalo.
a free agent.
True. Well, last couple things then. My 2025 MVP was Josh Allen. Shocker.
Yeah.
2025 Buffalo Bills MVP
Yeah.
is Josh Allen. Great season for him. He was fantastic again. I said earlier, they're a star-led team. It's kind of really all on their stars. Him, James Cook, Ed Oliver, though he was, hurt, missed a lot of the season. The offensive linemen, already mentioned. It's up to them. It's up to them for this team to win. And he won them a ton of games this season. Then 2026 goal. You got Josh Allen. It's been your goal for many years now. It's win a Super Bowl. Maybe even I should say make the Super Bowl. Like find your way into that game. I think is the goal moving forward for any season with Josh Allen on your team.
That's crazy.
I would just hate that pressure.
Me too.
Of what?
I would much prefer just like 3 to 4 years of trying to make the playoffs and maybe making a run.
Kind of
and
like
then
Joe Burrow.
Then rebuild.
Like Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I guess.
Sure.
His is like a weird thing because like all the injuries,
They
and
haven't,
also we're
yeah,
about to get to
necessarily
that.
rebuilt.
They're kind of screwed, but
But
we'll get to that in a second.
I would like 3 to 4 years of being there, and then maybe the 5th year we suffer a bunch of injuries and we get a high draft pick and we reset.
Kind of like the 49ers.
Yes. Yeah, I
That's-
think that's a good one.
Because I feel like the
what
49ers
they
are
did
like
last year.
Super Bowl, mid-season, bad season, great
back.
draft pick.
Yeah.
They go get Nick Bosa. Who did they get? I guess was Nick Bosa their last super high draft pick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what you mean by super
I
high.
mean, Michael
Like top
Williams he was just in the teens this year.
Yeah, he was
Okay.
like
Or it might have been
11.
11, I
I
think.
think he was 11, yeah.
But the two spots I would hate to be is at this Buffalo spot where you have to go do it, but you've never done it. Like you've never been to a Super Bowl.
And some people would say the roster is getting worse.
Yes.
Yep.
So, like, it is a really bad spot to be in, but it's where you found yourself.
That and then like Pittsburgh.
Sure.
Consistently
Pittsburgh
being 10-7.
purgatory.
I would not wish to be a fan of those two.
I think that's
Cool.
fair. On to the
Like-
Bengals. Or
Like
no,
I to finish that point, like
Yeah.
I'm a Saints fan. It was so much easier that we had already won the Super Bowl, and then year after you're like, yeah, we would like to win the Super Bowl this year, but if we didn't, it's okay.
we got ours.
We already got ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would hate to be Buffalo
Having not.
or
yeah.
Baltimore in this case.
Yeah.
Very fair.
Or Kansas City fans probably starting to feel like that too. Like we didn't win the Super Bowl this year. Like we got to win it next year.
I mean, greed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Never happy.
All right.
Take us away with the Bengals, Sanders.
I think the Bengals might just be cooked.
Whoa.
Doing like they have Joe Burrow. That's exciting.
I mean,
That is going to bring some joy, and some excitement to that offense and to that team. But a lot of it about this team scares me. They bring back their defensive coordinator, and the defense finished 30th in scoring defense last season in year one. Defenders whose contracts who will be free agents: Trey Hendrickson, starting edge rusher; Joseph Asai, starting edge rusher; Geno Stone, starting safety; Cam Taylor-Britt, starting cornerback. So now you are losing your two starting edge rushers to potentially, unless you re-sign them. And by the way, they have $46 million in cap, which is 7th most in the NFL. But edge rushers are going to chew through that like nothing else. And so now you're in, I think, a pretty awful situation where you don't have. I mean, there are teams out there with 70 or 80 million in cap space. You've got 46, and you don't have defensive line help, and defensive line is expensive. And also, by the way, you've got a head coach who is 52 and 63. He's got, I think, two seasons of his 6 seasons of his, not his 6. I'm going to give it a pause before I say this other number so they're not close together. Of his 7 seasons.
Yep.
2 10-win seasons. The other 5 seasons, he's gone 2-14, 4-11, 9-8, 9-8, and now 6-11. He's 52 and 63 overall. Y'all had a decent season offensively. They finished 12th in scoring offense under Dan Pitcher in year 2. But yeah, if I was a Bengals fan, I'd be nervous because you're kind of relying on Joe Burrow to come back and work wonders behind an offensive line that has not been great, and I feel like still is not going to be great. I mean, he's been hit a lot, and some people say that he's not injury prone, he's just hit prone, and so that leads to him being a more injury prone quarterback. But coaching-wise, Zach Taylor's the coach going forward. There are a lot of people who were shocked by that decision to keep him around for an 8th year, but here we are. I'm not going to talk too much about that because the coaches are all known commodities. We know Zach Taylor, he's back. Dan Pitcher is back for year 3. Al Golden is back for year 2. So I'm going to talk about some things they need to do. I think the big thing they're going to need to do is they need to have hit on guys in last year's draft. They need to have hit on Shamar Stewart at edge. They need to have hit, basically everywhere. They kind of need to have hit on everybody. Let me see if I can go back and find it. I had their draft from last year pulled up, and now I don't. But Shamar Stewart was their first pick.
I'll talk about Shamar Stewart while you
do that.
pull him up. Tough year 1 for my Texas A&M Aggie, Shamar Stewart. I do think it's a really tough environment for him to come in. He missed a lot of camp because he was sitting out. He was always a bit more of a project piece. You're drafting him for his tools and his traits, not his production. And then with the Trey Hendrickson missing time, there was some times where it's like this guy, this kid, this rookie is being asked to do a lot that he's just simply not equipped to do yet. And so you could argue, well, you draft him in the first round. We need him to be better. 100% agree. But I don't think I'm ready to shut the door on Shamar Stewart yet. I'll give him another year.
He only played 8 games.
He only played 8 games, correct.
So he didn't play a lot, but ideally you will have had hit on him.
Yes.
Is one thing that they need to do.
Ideally, at the end of next season, you're going. There's Bengals fans buying Shamar Stewart jerseys.
Yeah. And then you would love to have hit on your 2nd and 3rd round picks, especially Dylan Fairchild, an offensive lineman. Things they need to address, they pick, I believe, 11th.
Correct.
In this year's draft.
Or sorry, they picked 10th.
Is it 10th?
Yes. They picked 10th.
Yeah, they'll pick 10th. At one point, this was a shot, not shot in the dark. This was never going to happen. But at one point, I had Ruben Bain mocked to them. This was, I feel like, before Ruben Bain really solidified himself as truly elite. It was early in the season. I was like, okay, well maybe enough teams will take. I had all the quarterbacks. This was still when I had a lot of quarterbacks going.
Drew
in the top
Aller,
10.
top 10.
No, I think it was after Drew Aller.
Okay.
But I had him sliding down to 8. That's not going to happen. At 10, you're looking at a couple defensive players. Also, you're looking at Carnell Tate, Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, and Mekhi Lemon. But that does not help the Bengals. Wide receiver help is not what they need. Unless you think, a third string wide receiver. No, that's crazy. You're serious?
I'm serious. I would not hate it.
Oh my word!
I would not hate
With
it.
all of the help that they need, if David Bailey is sitting there at 10, you have to take David Bailey. I would love Peter Woods at 10. I like Keldrick Falk a lot from Auburn. Take him. Maybe Cassius Howe. You go back-to-back A&M guys, depending on how much they like him.
It'd be so funny. I want Cassius Howe to work out, but imagine they draft Cassius Howe. It doesn't work out because he's too small. The concerns come to fruition. There may be never be an NFL team that's hated a college team more than Bengals fans would hate A&M.
Yeah. But that's kind of where I'm looking. I think you have to go defense. I think you have to go defense heavy. Or maybe offensive line. I really hate the situation they're in with Orlando Brown Jr. He has not been good since arriving in Cincinnati. He has not lived up to the expectations. This year he allowed 9 sacks and had 10 penalties at left tackle. But you're kind of stuck with him. He's not going to be a free agent, and you've got enough money in him that I think you got to stick with him. Amarius Mims is your other tackle. He was a draft pick, I think, 2 years ago. He was a first rounder 2 years ago in 2024. You will love to have had hit on him. They kind of need to do that. So those are my big things is they need to hit on the guys that they already got, and then you need to get defensive help quick for your defensive coordinator because giving up as many points per game as they were giving up, Joe Burrow is not going to be able to score enough points for that. So that's what I'll say about the draft. In free agency, try and get Trey Hendrickson to come back. Like maybe that's probably dead. It's probably
I
done.
would say, what do you think the odds of that happening?
I don't think
are?
it's high. I don't think it's high. I think that there's got to be a rift or like
He
there's
only played 11 games this year, had 4 sacks.
yeah. I just don't think that that's gonna happen.
I'm inclined to agree with you.
But maybe you can get some of those other guys. You can keep them in house because Cam Taylor-Britt had a decent season, so you try and keep him around, and then you go out the edge rushers this year. Maybe you try and go get a Khalil Mack. Maybe that's what you want for this one season, or not for this one season, but you go and get him on like a 1 or 2 year contract. Other options, I mean, yeah, Khalil Mack, Hassan Reddick is another guy who is productive, who is still productive. So those are a couple options that you might try and bring in for short term just to help out this defense, because you also don't want to be wasting Joe Burrow, because if he has a healthy season, like the ceiling is the limit. The sky is the limit, not the ceiling. He has a high ceiling, but the sky is the limit with a healthy Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. So you got to address defensive line, I think, in the draft, and then also in the free agency, and then also offensive line. I think could use a couple pieces, but they've got talent there. They've got talent invested. They got money invested. It just hasn't worked out.
I think you're too down on them. I think they're winning the division next year. They've got the only continuity in division. They're the only team with the same head coach and same quarterback next year. Pittsburgh's going to have both be different. Baltimore's got a new head coach in Jesse Minter, as we just learned. And Cleveland doesn't have a head coach. They're also...
But they got their quarterback.
Do they?
Oh, yeah, they
Shador
do. According to Mel
Sanders.
Kiper. You've seen everything you need to see from Shador Sanders.
Yeah, so I do think they've got the inside track to first or second in this division pretty easily, with Pittsburgh and Cleveland struggling. And those, you'd hope would be 4 wins right there off the bat. And then if you can handle Baltimore, you're right there in contention to win the division. The cap space, I think they've got enough money to spend around, and they can find those kinds of pieces like a Kalimak. I would really love as a potential guy, and he doesn't have to get paid, all of the cap space. You can pay him. You can get him maybe on a cheaper deal, convince him that he can come win a Super Bowl with Joe Burrow. With that first pick too, like I say it half jokingly, but I mean, if Carnell Tate fell that far, are you not drafting Carnell Tate? And then he can have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Carnell Tate.
What you've already got Andre Yoshivas. Like, you've got a good wide receiver 3.
That he can be wide receiver 4.
Even better.
You draft him and then trade Yoshivas for a first-round pick. That's what you do.
That's the offense in me. Like, what you're looking for this next season is it's the same as what you're going to be looking for with Dallas here, who we'll talk about in a second, is you need to raise the defensive floor a little bit, and at the same time, you need to maintain the offensive floor. Like, Joe Burrow's got to be healthy is a critical factor. He hasn't had a healthy season since 2022, and he lost the AFC Championship that year. But you need to raise that defense from 30th in the league to 22nd in the league, to in the teens in the league. I don't think you need to do too much more than that, and I think you just predicate yourself on scoring a ton of points. And so I do think you could get by with whoever it may be, Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, with that first pick. Because, those other guys in those other picks aren't guarantees. Like, I don't think Keldrick Falk is a guarantee right now. David Bailey, we've already talked about concerns with him. Peter Woods, likewise. Like, Sonny Styles is really the only pick I really like there if you're going to go defense, personally. Unless you wanted to go somehow corner at 10 with Mansour Delane or McCoy from Tennessee. So I do think this team looks better next year. I do think this team has the inside track to win the division. And so I wouldn't be too down on this team.
Yeah.
I think you may be a little bit too down on this team, even
Well,
with
they
them
hurt
losing
me.
pieces.
I picked them to win the division this year because I was like, oh, they're going to score a crap ton of points. And they finished 11th in the NFL in scoring, which surprised me when I looked it up because it just didn't feel like that. Because, I mean, they're going to be drafting 10th. It'd feel like they had a down season. But
Well, 11th wasn't good enough for what their
11th
defense
was
is.
no, it was not. And so I think that's kind of why I'm like, I might have been hurt.
Sure. I think there's a world where they could win the division like JP's talking about, but it's mainly because I feel worse about the division as a whole than I do. Like, I feel better about the Bengals all of a sudden.
Yeah. Let's see. What are the other things that I should bring up? I mean, I can do MVP of the team.
Yeah.
Please do.
I don't know which category he falls in. I want to shout out Andre Yoshivas, just because like he's I think he's an Ivy League player, and so he's still a younger guy, but he's really kind of like been a good wide receiver 3 for them. He makes a lot of plays. He'll make some really cool catches. So I think that's who I'm gonna. He'll probably be the one. He'll probably be the name nobody knows. And then for MVP, Joe Flacco for giving them a chance for 2 weeks for winning that Steelers game, and for a second, everyone, the meme of like when I'm gaming and then I sit up, everyone kind of sat up for a second when they won that game. Like, is Joe Flacco going to be able to like kind of carry this Bengals team and just heave the ball to Jamar Chase enough?
He got them to 3-4 at that point, and then they suffered 2 devastating back-to-back losses at home, where they lost 39-38 to the Jets. And then if you'll recall it now that I mention it, the 42-47 loss to the Chicago Bears, where they were running up and down the field in the fourth quarter in Chicago, and Caleb completes a pass to Cole Kmet. You change the result of those 2 games, and you're looking at a team that is 5-4, 5-5 when Joe Burrow returns, and then you can have your Baltimore Ravens Thanksgiving game, and then if he doesn't throw the 2 picks at the end of the Buffalo game, you're looking at a team that's in the playoffs. So it very well could have changed right there. I don't disagree with the Joe Flacco pick there, personally.
I'm fine with it.
Anything else for their offseason primer? I think that they're another team where free agency will have a lot to do with how I feel about them going into next season. Because I picked them to win the AFC North. I think I picked them to win like 13 games this year. I was very high on that offense, and the Joe Flacco injury, devastating.
Joe Burrow,
thank you. Kind of cooked me in my prediction. So once I see how they use their money, once I see how they draft, I think I could be a lot more excited. But right now, if I were the general manager, I would not be excited about having to manage the roster that this team has right now.
I mean, this is like a primer, so it's in anything we say here, we are not held to in 6 months.
God, I can't wait to make a Colonel Tate is going to be a Cincinnati Bengal TikTok.
And here's why.
All
right, let's move on to the Cowboys. America's team.
Are they America's team to you guys?
Yeah, probably still. I think because so many people who aren't football fans just like, oh yeah, it's the Cowboys. It's cool. And so they get like
they somehow are
the 70% of the population that doesn't watch it. That's just a random number. That's not but like the percentage of the population that doesn't watch football, it's just like, oh yeah, the Dallas Cowboys. I know them. They're cool.
Yeah.
And so I think that like they get more recognition,
they
more
are
brand
America's
awareness.
Team. I think it would suck to be America's team because like your fan base just sucks. And then you have the amount of people where like they bought a Cowboys shirt at Walmart because it was there.
It might be the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not gonna lie.
Why?
Taylor Swift. Because you like when I think about America's team, I think about like the population that is like aware of you and like experiences some joy when you win, and it's like, oh yeah, they won. Like there are a lot of people who are like care about the Kansas City Chiefs and like see that they show up on TikTok and it's like, oh great, the Chiefs won. I think that it might be the Kansas City Chiefs. But there are also a lot of teams. But see, you think that's a lot of people hate the Cowboys. A lot of people hate the Chiefs.
Fair.
It might be the Chiefs.
That's an interesting debate. Maybe we have that at some point. For this Cowboys team, rough year. You couldn't get it done. You trade Micah Parsons at the beginning of the year. There were hot moments, and then there were really cold moments. Dak Prescott was like on an MVP candidacy. But your defense was historically bad this year. And so Matt Eberflus was fired, former head coach with the Bears last year and the defensive coordinator this year. So now, some of the personnel you could blame. I think personally after the loss of Micah, we talked about Trayvon Diggs and his ability to cover guys as a corner in the NFL, and he was pretty terrible this year. But I don't think it's just personnel because like Matty Eberflus last year had a bottom 5 defense from a yards perspective with Chicago. This year it was the third worst with Dallas. So I don't think it's just personnel. It was just on him, which is why the Matty Eberflus firing completely makes sense. They are still looking for a defensive coordinator at this point. Jonathan Gannon, former Cardinal head coach, he was fired this year, and others have been interviewed. This is like largely the fix that's needed from a coaching perspective for Dallas. I think you're good with Schottenheimer. Obviously, he's really kind of built actually a pretty good culture, especially in their wins. There, you think about like them, rallying around each other with the passing of Marshawn Nealon earlier this year. They've really established a good culture within the team. Now you could argue the culture's not great with the owner and the GM and whatnot, but he is the reason for that. And that being Jerry, I do think you've got the right guys there and the right guys from a special teams perspective. Cavante Turpin had another great year. Brandon Aubrey was excellent once again. Only 6 misses this year. All of them were from 50 plus. So he was great, 50 and in, and then kicked. His longest kick was only a 62-yarder. He unfortunately has been passed by Cam Little in terms of the biggest leg in the league.
He'll get it back.
But I imagine he'll get it back next year. He is a free agent, though, so they're going to have to prioritize re-signing him. And I'll go straight into cap space because of that. Dallas is 40 in the negative for next year, which
Unideal.
is unideal. And these are some of their notable cap numbers. We talked about their notable cap numbers coming into this year and it being an interesting question. It's only gotten worse because the contracts have only increased. Dak's number this year is $74 million of a 300
That's
total
insane.
team
Yeah.
cap space. He's the highest paid player in the National Football League. He was this year as well. CeeDee Lamb is $38 million. Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark, the 2 guys you traded for and brought in, are going to be $21 million each. So this makes re-signing guys like Brandon Aubrey really hard, who's probably going to call for like $6 million for a kicker, which is really high, but he deserves every penny. George Pickens, like a re-signing for him is going to be really hard, but I do feel like both of those have to be some kind of priority. Jadeveon Clowney is someone they're talking about internally in Dallas circles that they want him back as well. He led the team in sacks this year with 8.5, which is kind of sad. The loss of Micah Parsons, and now in his 30s, Jadeveon Clowney leads your team in sacks. ESPN has changed their score bug, if I'm not mistaken, 4 times since his big play at South Carolina against Michigan in the Outback Bowl. The Outback Bowl has changed sponsors twice, if I'm not mistaken, as well, since then as well. So him being your leading sacker is not really
Unideal.
where you want to be. The former first-round pick from the Houston Texans. They want to bring back all 3 of those guys, though, if they have to. They're going to be able to do it. They're going to have to restructure a ton, a la the New Orleans Saints. Guys like Terrence Steele, and then restructuring CeeDee's contract, and Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark's contract, Dak's contract even, adding void years and just kicking the can down the road seems to be the route into who re-signing George Pickens, re-signing Brandon Aubrey and others. And I do think that's what they're going to prioritize, is something they've always prioritized. They rarely go out of house for players. They always re-sign players or get players through the draft. You very rarely have guys that come in through free agency to Dallas. Maybe it's through trades like Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams, and George Pickens as well. But very rarely do you have free agent signings that are from another team for Dallas. In terms of their draft, this is where the Micah trade is supposed to help them. And they've got 2 first-round picks this year thanks to said trade. The 12th overall pick and the 20th pick, they'll be a hot topic throughout the night, throughout the weeks and months leading up to the draft here in April. They need defense. Like, that's kind of inarguable. They had the third worst offense from a yards per game perspective. So they're going to need defense guaranteed with one of those picks. They also love to pick offensive linemen. You think of like in the 20s or guys like maybe Francis Maui-Noah falls that far, but you have a guy like Caden Proctor, the Penn State guy.
Vega.
Vega, that's right. And we'll get his name down. Caleb Lomu is there out of Utah as well. Maybe he's the guy they pick at 20. But 12 through 20, you do have to go defense. I wouldn't even hate both going defense on those two, especially if you're going to re-sign George Pickens. Excuse me. So where are you guys looking for their two picks? Because they're going to be a really hot topic. They were a really hot topic even last year. They surprised a lot of people with picking Tyler Booker out of Alabama, but Tyler Booker has had an excellent year. If just like this is the best way to describe how good he was from an offensive lineman perspective, he's already an 88 overall in Madden.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So he had an excellent year, and he's viewed as one of the best guards in football right now. So, but for this year's draft, how do you guys feel for Dallas 12th and 20?
It's got to be defense.
Yep.
And I think it's going to be defense just considering that's how Jerry Jones framed the Micah Parsons trade, and he's just a guy that's not going to want to be wrong, right?
Yeah.
So when he said he's going to...
Well, he's already not wrong. Quentin Williams is really good,
True,
so
true.
he's good.
Yeah.
But, he made this trade to get the cheaper defensive stars. I think he'll go there. I think maybe... I don't know. What you said their first pick is at what?
12.
12.
I think
that'll probably be a best available defender spot.
Yeah.
And then in the 20s, if you haven't already done so, cornerback.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple cornerbacks sitting around 12. Mansur Delane is
True.
right now ranked 14. Jamal McCoy from Tennessee is ranked 12th. And then in the 20s, they would pick with the Green Bay pick at 20. Caden McDonald out of Ohio State.
Yeah, or that.
TJ Parker, and we'll see how how his combine and everything goes. But yeah, I think secondary and then maybe another best available defender because I feel like
Good point.
you have to I think go multiple defenders because of the way the Micah Parsons trade went, and getting that first round pick. You can't just be like, oh yeah, we lost one of the best defensive players in the NFL. But don't worry, we're going to draft one guy, and that's going to make up for him. It's going to take multiple guys because that's kind of the mentality of, if you think that quality or quantity is better than over quality, then you actually have to get that quantity. You have to take multiple guys, draft multiple guys. So it wouldn't make sense to kind of have that, we're going to go to the cheap, high quantity approach and then not get a high quantity of guys. So I think it's probably, 2 defensive players in the first round.
Yeah, corner is a very interesting one. I do think they might go corner at 12. This has been a franchise that for many years has been kind of linked to picking corners in the draft, and they just never really did. Trayvon Diggs was really their highest pick in terms of
I think they were
corner.
big time linked to Patrick Surtain.
Pat Surtain was a huge
I remember
one.
that one being.
Yeah, he was a huge one for them. Christian Gonzalez was someone they talked about a little bit. They didn't really talk about Emmanuel Forbes son of that draft. He was a Washington guy. They wanted Washington to make that pick.
Sure.
But this is a team that has been linked big to corners before, and Jerry loves his corners. And they signed Deron Bland to the big extension with the trade of Micah Parsons. So something like Mansour Delane or Gerard McCoy makes a ton of sense at 12 for a potential pick for them. We all agree across the board. Kind of feels like they have to go defense for both picks, and both picks, I think you have to love. One thing about this draft is we're gonna, get closer towards it in the next 3 months. We're gonna talk about a ton. There's a lot of defensive players in that first round that are available that can be really big impacts potentially, and then as you get into the second and third round, you start talking more so about receivers and quarterbacks maybe. But that first round, you have a ton of defenders that can be impacts. And at 12, Sonny Styles could fall to them. Maybe a Peter Woods could fall all the way that far.
Keldrick Faulk
out of Auburn absolutely could fall that far. But you got edge rushers like Cassius Howe and Akeem Ezador and TJ Parker. And then a good group of DBs and Gerard McCoy and Mansour Delane and even Avion Terrell out of Clemson. So there are a lot of options, which is going to help Jerry look righter in this trade. which is of course all he cares about. But it's one of those don't mess it up, because with the way Dak played this year, I don't think this is as much of a talking point, but it is. It very well should be. Is like the way they talk about like the Bengals and like, bro, get your stuff together, play some damn defense. Buffalo with the way they play defense in the playoffs, like quit choking on Josh Allen. Not saying this year was on him, but in other years it has been. Yes, pause on that. The same should be said for Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys with the way they played offense this year, and the way Dak has played 2 of the last 3 years as well. They've kind of failed him a little bit to a defensive perspective, albeit I wouldn't necessarily blame the playoff losses on defense more so than Dak. But to not be in the postseason with an offense that was as great as it was last year, where you have Javonte Williams was a top 10 running back who was out of nowhere. George Pickens he was absolutely incredible last year. He was 3rd in receiving yards, and he's one of my MVPs along with Dak Prescott for this team. He was 3rd in receiving yards with only 93 catches. The 2 above him, JSN and Puka Nacua, had 30 more catches and 36 more catches, and he was only 200 yards behind them in terms of total receiving yards. He had incredible days, incredible explosive days for Dak and the Cowboys. And so if they're able to re-sign him and maybe even Javonte Williams, who was 9th in the league in rush yards with 1,200, and he was 8th in rushing touchdowns. He was you could view him as a Pro Bowl snub, but like there's a lot of great run. He was up there with guys like McCaffrey and guys like Devon Achane and Bijan Robinson having very similar statistical years. Jake Ferguson was a tight end 3 in fantasy football. He had an excellent year himself. So this offense is elite and had an elite year and was great under Brian Schottenheimer. Can't mess it up defensively next year, because this team, feels like they should win the division. To look towards next year, that's the early realistic goal for them as well. As with the Eagles being a dumpster fire division winner, they're still going to be good. But let's be real, the vibes are not high there.
Sure.
Washington was battered with injuries. How well do they respond? And then the Giants are going to be a really hot pick with John Harbaugh, but it's his first year there. Jackson Dart's not a good quarterback, and they've got to play on that MetLife turf. And so even so, like I've had people tell me about them with Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo and Malik Neighbors. Oh, what a dynamic trio that's going to be. That's great. They're going to be probably pretty good for that first 2 weeks. But after that, with Jackson Dart and the way that he protects himself, and Cam Scatterbo and the way that he runs, and Malik Neighbors already coming off an ACL injury, I don't know how consistent that. I think the odds of them being all together at the end of the season would be an underdog if you were betting on it.
Yeah.
So this is a Dallas team that feels like they should be back on top of the division next year, and they're gonna have to do that with this offseason, these first round picks.
I agree with the expectation. It's one thing is always their expectation, whether it's realistic or not. That's just kind of, we talked about it earlier. We're the Cowboys. We're America's team. This is what we do. Like, we win the division. We make the playoffs. We win Super Bowls. That is, kind of fallen to the rear view recently. But it's always their expectation. I think it's a fair expectation rolling into next year, given where the division's at. It's a tall task, but the offense is great. I think it's a realistic task, not a likely task, but it's realistic. There's a chance.
Yeah. What else?
I think that's it. And let's
real quick.
Yeah.
I saw you were on Twitter. Did you see the breaking news? This is not Jordan Seaton related. Mississippi State did get another huge transfer portal commit, though. And I want y'all to try and guess. It's a quarterback.
Is it Mike Wright?
It is not Mike Wright.
Can I get like a conference you played in last?
FCS.
Oh, wow.
Actually, hold on, let me pull that back up and be sure that's right. It was a.
Oh, y'all got like Malachi Nelson.
No.
But
no,
similar guy, Jaden Rashada.
No. Yeah, we got Jaden Rashada.
That's really funny.
I
Yeah.
don't know who that is.
You know who Jaden Rashada?
He's the
Arizona
guy that
State
went to-
Georgia.
Well, I thought he went to Georgia, but then like didn't get the money
Sacramento
he wanted, or was it flipped? He was the guy that like really complained about money, and then it
Mm.
didn't matter because he was never any good. So he spent last year at Sacramento State.
No. Jaden Rashada.
Yeah.
He went to Arizona State to start.
Then he at Arizona State was like, y'all aren't giving me my money, so I'm leaving.
I don't think so.
Who am I thinking of then? Am I thinking of Malachi?
Is that not
Nelson?
Rayola? No, not Rayola. I don't think that's. I don't.
I'm looking it up.
Yeah,
real
double
quick.
check that. Yes. Okay, Florida. He sued
Florida.
Florida.
He sued Florida.
Yes.
Okay,
I remember that guy.
Jaden Rashada. I didn't realize that was the same guy because I remember him being at Arizona State.
But Florida's not on there because he actually never went to Florida
Yeah.
because
he committed to play at Miami. Interesting, and then flipped his commitment to Florida, and
Cool.
then shortly before he enrolled, he requested a release from his NLI.
Yep, and sued, which I guess he lost.
And it was because his NIL deal of $13.85 million fell through, and he enrolled at Arizona State, and then transferred to Georgia, went to Sacramento State, and then he appeared in 6 total games. So let's see what his career stats are. 61 for 124 for 754 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions.
Could be worse.
Yeah. So
Cool. That's a goofy name. It's like a nice trivia piece to have later.
it's another. Yeah, it's. I think I got him. I don't know who I got him mixed up with, but I thought he was somebody. Like I know his name. I know where he's been. I just didn't remember that story.
Sure.
Man, I really hoped we were gonna get Jordan Seaton news on
There's
today's
still
show.
chance. No, on today's show because we're wrapping it up here. I gotta get into town and drop Wynn's dry cleaning off, and it
Yeah.
closes in 30 minutes.
Oh, Schubert.
So,
yeah, you better.
I got
boogie.
time, but it is gonna be. I don't got any more time to waste. With that being said, thanks everyone who tuned in. We'll be back for y'all Tuesday to recap the AFC and NFC championship game and
Yeah, sounds about right.
do a couple more off-season primers.
Yep.
Cool. See
Yeah.
y'all then. Peace.
See ya.